And welcome to Best Battles for some of the most keenly fought and thrilling sports car contests of recent decades. In this set of programmes, there's action from the American Le Mans Series in the USA, plus European Championships featuring Lamborghini and BPR GT, and of course, the World Sports Car Championship. There's plenty of excitement on the way as they all race toward the checkered flag. First, we're off to the Middle East and the Sakhir International Circuit in Bahrain.
It's a massive circuit, 5.5 kilometres, 14 turns and, importantly for overtaking, 4 decent straights, the start-finish run being just over 1 kilometre. Because of its location, wind-blown sand can be an issue, though the circuit builders included an innovative solution which overcomes most of the problem. GT1 had something for everyone in terms of hardware, but it was hardware that let down the number 15 Ferrari of Hubert Haupt and Wolfgang Kaufmann. At the time, they thought the clutch had gone, but it was a crown wheel and pinion, far more serious, and the car was sidelined for 24 hours waiting for spare parts. The Ferrari had set a time that made it 5th fastest, though it was a trifle academic now, and it was 10th. Behind the Force One Viper of Stéphane Lacroix. 2/10 faster and 3rd quickest, Lara competition with the number 12 Viper. And this hugely experienced team obviously a force to reckon with. As will be DDO with a very rapid Saleen, one of only 2 cars to dip below 2 minutes during qualifying, although still a couple of tenths away from the eventual pole time. And that slight power disadvantage was something the team expected to see repeated during the races.
Yes, I think Ferrari is a very good car and the drivers are very good drivers, and it will be difficult for us, but we will do a good battle, I think.
In its short career, the 550 has emerged as a major force in GT racing, and it was no surprise Ferrari claimed pole position, sports car stalwart David Brabham making good use of fresh rubber to claim the top spot.
Well, yeah, I think once the new tyre went on, we found a bit more grip. I think when you go out at the beginning, the tyre gets a lot of sand in it and then it loses a bit of performance. Then you put a new one on, and then for a couple of laps you actually get a bit of performance, and then the sand gets on there again, and then you start sliding a little bit more. So, but we did enough today to start at the front, so that's good.
Delays to other races put the day one programme back an hour, and it was getting dark as 40 cars lined up on the grid for race 1. This is the first of 3 qualifying races. It's scheduled to run for 35 minutes, but Bahrain is about to get an unexpected little bonus. This won't be just the Kingdom's first international sports car race. It's going to run into the darkness as well. The sun sets very quickly in this part of the world. There's very little lingering of it on the horizon, so we'll go from day to night in just a few minutes, although it looks as though the actual rolling start will take place at sunset. A dramatically beautiful backdrop then for the start of race 1. 35 minutes, we think it'll run to about 18 laps, and we're on board in the number 1 Celine Francois Fiat, starting on the outside of row 1, and they come towards turn 1, and that looks like the Cooper's Ferrari going into the lead. Alan Simonson off pole position in the red 550, Maranello into the lead, and it's very hard to tell them apart. You can see that the sun going down very quickly indeed, but it's Patrick Long in second place. Is that the number 34 Porsche? Indeed it is. Well, that was a bit of a start for Patrick Long. He got the jump on a handful of cars there, and so did this man. We're on board with the Russian driver in the number 35 Ferrari. This is Sergei Zlobin. He started on row 4, and he's now up to about 6th place, so he's made a few places up as well, following the number 2 Viper of Stéphane Lacroix. and the grid order more or less the same, except for really Patrick Long, who got such a great start, jumped a handful of them in the dark there, and Zlobin goes wide though, undoes all the good work, and this is this trackside surface that's designed to catch the sand and keep it off the main racetrack, and it's a little bit slippery as you can see, and he's dropped 3, 4, maybe 5 places there. He was up to 4th with that good start, but I think he's now 8th or 9th as he rejoins us. And this is the Labra Viper, number 12, in 3rd place. Somewhere up ahead of him is the battle for the lead. We're on board in the number 1 car. This is 4th place, following the Viper, riding with Francois Fiat. And the sun disappearing behind the hills now, full darkness any moment now, and this racetrack is going to become a very difficult place to drive indeed. There it is, 3rd place, number 12, with a little crew lining up behind, but quite a lot of space in front, so it looks like 1st and 2nd have made the break. Here we go, this is Simonson with Long behind him in the Porsche. That really is tremendous work from Patrick Long. A great coup to do that from the start line, but how much longer can he hang on to it? He's got Viper horsepower coming down on him from behind, and behind that the Celine, very quick, as we've seen many times. Number 60 Porsche, Craig Rapp, that's a puncture at the back on the left rear, trailing a cloud of smoke, and that is the Marcos of Chris Baton. And it looks like the rear suspension might have collapsed on that one. So yellow flags waving to warn these drivers that there are cars littered around the circuit, although he's well off the racing line there. And we're back on board in the Celine. We're in 5th place, and that's a Porsche in front of you, and that's about all you can see really. Look at this, is how difficult it's becoming here. The conditions very tricky indeed as night falls. That's the race leader though. That is Alan Simonson in the 550 Maranello. Made a good start, clean break, and it looks as though he's got no real pursuit as he heads off into the darkness. We're back on board again with Martin Short in the Mosler. We're down in about 10th place here, and it's altogether a lot more tricky. That looks like Christophe Bouchou in the Lamborghini, the GT3 leader at the moment, and we've just nipped past him. So the Mosler moving up as the front straight. Oh, and the red lights are on. I thought that was a red flag, but it is a red flag, and the lights are on, and the race has been stopped, and you can quite see why, because visibility has now completely vanished, and night racing has got to come to an end. So the result declared after 20 minutes instead of the scheduled 35. A fast starting Patrick Long wins GT2. Christophe Bouchou took GT3 honours, but it didn't look as if anyone was ever going to catch the race leader in the red Ferrari. Alan Simonson was almost 17 seconds ahead at the checkered flag.
We got a fantastic start, and I mean, as the darkness came, I think the other guys sort of slowed off a little bit, but I was managing to just keep the momentum going and get it home.
An interesting baptism for the drivers and for the circuit, but hopefully that's night racing over and done with, and the rest will all be in daylight. Bright sunshine in Bahrain, day 2. This is race 2, and the grid of course determined by the finishing order from race 1. 43 cars on the grid this time, and that includes the number 15 Ferrari, crown wheel and pinion repaired, and Hubert Haupt right at the back in position number 43 as they wait for the signal to start. We're on board now with number 12 Frederic Dedours driving today as the safety car moves aside. That's that long kilometre straight, and that's one very, very messy grid. Hardly what you'd call 2 rows. The red lights stay on. Will the starter give them the go-ahead? Yes, it's green. Pedal to the metal. And the same format as the first race. This is scheduled to be 35 minutes. It should be about 18 laps. No pit stops planned or mandatory. Little bit of a touch there between Brabham and Dedours as we go into turn 1. We're riding on board in the Celine, looking for a way through on the inside, but slotting into 3rd place. So Brabham leads. Frederic Dedours is in 2nd place. Then it's Dominic Dupuy, then Antoine Leclerc, Sergei Zlobin again, the Russian having another good drive in the Ferrari. This is an overtaking move from the Celine. We're up on the inside, we've done the brakes, and we are in P2. So Frederic Dedours pushed back into 3rd place. Now can the Celine catch David Brabham? It's Vipers behind, and then the Mosler, just a glimpse of the number 36 car there. 74 you're looking at there, GT3 leader Roger Groves. And this is Brabham with the Celine looking over his shoulder, coming down this straight, and they are too far apart to think about it. Little bit of movement in the pack there. Is that the number 34 Porsche? I believe it is. Yes, it is. Did so well yesterday with Patrick Long, that fast start, and now looking good with Lars Nielsen. And just beginning to pull away, open up a little bit of space, and who's that parked by the side of the road? Kevin Riley. Oh, and that's Thierry Steback, and that's a turbo. That huge cloud of smoke behind the Porsche, so characteristic of a blown turbo. And he'll be making his way back to the pits. Here's someone who's not making their way back to the pits, though. This is the race leader, still with that Celine, peering over his shoulder. David Brabham, we're on board now with Dominic Dupuy on this long 1,000-metre straight, and let's have a look at the horsepower difference between them. Almost nothing. He said yesterday that he thought the Ferrari had the horsepower edge, but he's closing right up under braking, and quite frankly David Brabham didn't really leap away from him, so they're still pretty evenly matched, and this could turn out to be an interesting contest between these two. Look behind them, and what do you see? Practically nothing, and that's Joost Vollenberg. Well, they had problems in the dark yesterday. They've stopped again today as we go on board with Sean Balfe in the Mosler, and that is Hubert Haupt from position number 43. He's just gone up to P7 after a couple of laps of this race. That's extraordinary work from Hubert Haupt, starting right at the back, and oh dear, Lamborghinis can be expensive to repair. Gregorio Tunon is going to have to spend a bit of money on the front end of that one as he tours back to the pits. And this is Frederic Dedurs, passed by the GT2 leader in the corner, is he? Yes, he is. He just nips through on the inside with the Ferrari. Well, of course, it's just a little bit handier there than the Viper, but watch this. Big V10 engine, lots of horsepower, lots of torque, and he will just muscle past on this huge long front straight, take the position away from the Ferrari and shut the door as they go into turn one. Easily done, but now watch, he's coming back already, having a look. Well, he's not going to give up on this. It's an interesting one because there's long straights and there's short twiddly bits on this circuit. There's something for everyone. Be interesting to see how that contest pans out as the Celine just a little bit sideways in the corner there behind the Ferrari, coming up on back markers now. Dupuy still very close. This battle has been going on and on and on. A little bit of, oh, he's done him. He's got round him, but past the back marker. He has definitely gone past Brabham. Look to the right of the picture, there's no red car there. And Dupuy has nipped past when David Brabham went one way, he went the other way. He got it right, David Brabham got it wrong, and this is almost the end of the race. And there is no chance. Oh, another back marker gets quickly out of the way for them, but the checkered flag is waiting at the end of this straight, and that is the race done and dusted for Dominic Dupuy. Snatches it just a couple of corners from the end, and that was something else indeed. David Brabham would be very surprised by that, and so too Frederic Dedurs, passed by the Ferrari just on the run to the flag. Will he catch him? I don't think so. That was a cheeky little move, and he's done it indeed. Well, two cheeky little overtaking manoeuvres. Yes, celebrating with a donut right in front of the camera, and you can understand his pleasure at that one. But let's have a look at the official result then. David Brabham literally pipped at the post by Dominic Dupuy, the Frenchman sneaking past with just 3 corners left on the race, and they came up on a slower car, almost side by side.
It was not easy to overtake, but I overtake when we take one lap to other guys because they block him, and I go on the exterior on the track.
That was a good race. I mean, obviously the traffic was playing a big part in that one, but the two cars were pretty evenly matched, which was good for the race. And I just went the wrong way at the end, and the driver behind went the right way, and that was it. I couldn't do anything then.
Race 2 then puts them even. Stevens one apiece, and we've got different winners in both the other classes as well. It's a rolling start for race 3. It's all the same as before. It did work out at about 18 laps in the 35 minutes. So we've got 2 races completed with 3 class winners in each, 6 potential winners, and that's exactly how it's worked so far. No one driver has won twice, nor has any car won twice. But that may well change now, because this is the 3rd and final qualification race. Looking down from the roof of the number 12 Viper as the grid steadies itself, looking better this time, fairly well behaved. They will get a green light for this one. Just approaching the start line now, just watch them all go for the pedal when the lights go green, and Makovici launches his attack already, moving up on the number 2 car. And is it going to work? Antoine Leclerc, I think, was caught napping there. David Brabham in the red number 8 car stayed in for the second race, and he leads the Saleen into turn 1. It's Dominic Dupuy stayed in as well, so it's the medicine as before up front, and that's that number 34 Porsche making another quick start, and that should tell you that it is Patrick Long, the American hot shoe, who is in the driving seat there. Makovici just having a look down the inside there, but there wasn't enough for him, settles for 4th. So it's all pretty much as it was before. Number 12, the Viper, Berek Makovici. On board with him, looking at the tail end of the Porsche, and now can we get some horsepower down and catch up with him? Well, it gets out of the corners very well indeed, the Porsche, as you'd expect really, puts the traction down very well, and not a chance for Viper horsepower on that straight. It's going to have to be the big long one as David Brabham comes towards us, and will we see a renewal of that little battle that lasted the whole 18 laps? And is the gap close enough yet for him to start challenging, or is he just going to stay there and wait? Look at the Viper in the background. Here comes that horsepower move on Patrick Long, but even now it's not going to pay off, and it still has to be that big long 1,000-metre front straight before he'll find the room to get past. That's 47. That's Baz Linders, the Minardi test driver, who's been here before earlier in the year and really should know his way around here rather better than that. And a little spin there behind, looking back at number 14, Nigel Greensall in the Stealth B6, and that was what it was. Put a wheel on the curb there and spun away. And there's smoke from the Saleen. He's going to be snapped up by the Viper. So he's got a problem. Definitely got a problem. Sounds all right in here, but there is something wrong with Dominic Dupuy. Trailing smoke, it's a puncture. There it is, right rear. And that really has taken all the heat out of the battle. We were looking forward to a renewal of their race 2 contest, but it isn't going to happen now. As we look at number 35, this is Jean-Philippe Belloc, the GT2 leader, is now up to 4th place overall, which is good going for them. This little Ferrari is really having quite a good weekend. So heading up GT2, that's 46, that's the second of the JMB Ferraris, and that is Fabien Girard, the GT winner in race 2, who is obviously not going any further in this race. And this is David Brabham, who obviously has no opposition left now in this race. It's all been diffused with the departure of the Saleen. They had a big lead, and that's Richard Chamberlain, so the drama's still continuing, even though the checkered flag is somewhere being unfurled as we speak, heading towards the final few minutes of this final qualification race. We're looking at Nigel Greensall in the Stealth, up to 6th place, made in England, and a regular runner in the British Championship. 0 to 60 in 0 to 100, I beg your pardon, in 6 seconds. It's a very quick car indeed. Front row spots in the British Series, fastest laps, all sorts of things. A car to watch out for, and watch out for Jean-Philippe Belloc, who is just thinking about making a move on Patrick Long. The race is almost over. This is the GT2 battle. This is 1st and 2nd in GT2. Can the Ferrari pull it off and pull one over the Porsche? Well, we'll wait and see. He did it to the Viper in the previous race, and he's gone through on the inside. Yes, he's made it stick. Well, isn't that extraordinary stuff? And the Porsche comes straight back at him. So Long isn't giving up yet. Belloc in the black Ferrari, though, has the advantage, and it looks as though he may well be able to carry it all the way to the checkered flag, but he's going to have to work for it because Patrick Long isn't letting him get away. Well, he's right in the slipstream now, right tucked up underneath the rear wing of that 360, and they're racing all the way to the checkered flag. There is hardly a few centimetres between them, this close to the end of the race, but here is the race leader. The overall man at the front, David Brabham, has got nobody between him and victory now. And all he's got to do is hustle it round the last couple of corners. And here we go, checkered flag time. The lights flash and the flag drops. And that's a second victory for David Brabham. Well, it was very close in the previous race, but now there's 27 seconds between him and the nearest pursuit, which is that number 12 Viper. And look at that, Jean-Philippe Belloc got the best of Patrick Long and takes the GT2 win. And the GT3 battle was a long way down on the rest of them. 11th overall, that was Philip Keane. So another good outing, though, for this Ferrari, which really has made the point, and David Brabham quite clearly very pleased with that victory.
It's a shame that the Celine had a problem because we're obviously quite evenly matched, and it would have been for a good race like it was the race before. But we'll take the win. We're a little bit further up the grid than that car at the moment, so we'll just obviously see what happens in the main race. But so far, it's been a great weekend for the Cooper Ferrari team.
The feature race then is the full Monty. We're talking 60 minutes, about 30 laps probably, given that they are just over 2 minutes a lap. We'll wait and find out. There's a pit stop in there as well, so that's bound to slow things down. And the grid, of course, determined by the finishing order of race 3, with the number 8 Ferrari on pole, a pair of Vipers right behind, and a sterling drive from Jean-Philippe Belloc puts the GT2 Ferrari on the outside of row 2, with class rivals in the 34 Porsche on the inside of row 3. Stand by for fireworks when this lot gets the green light, because the Celine is way back on row 4 as a result of that puncture, and that means Francois Fiat will be looking to find his way through. Fairly neat and orderly. They are going to get a start light. We're on board in the number 12 Viper with Frederic Dedors, and the lights have gone out and he's on the hammer now. Watch on the right hand side, that's the 550 Ferrari, that's Alan Simonson, and you can see the power of that Ferrari. Just late braked into turn 1 to take the lead, and it's fairly well behaved as we look down on them from the air. And already that red Ferrari streaking away at the front of the field. One or two people taking it fairly wide, but it all looks as if it's happened pretty much according to plan. Alan Simonson from Frederic Dedors, and behind that Wolfgang Kaufmann from 8th place. It was the yellow Ferrari making all the running. We're on board in the Celine with Francois Fiat down in 5th place now. Not so bad from where he started, but it was Wolfgang Kaufmann who really got it off pat there on the start. In 3rd place, and a bit of tyre smoke from Dedors in the Viper as they unwind this opening lap and everything starts to come up to temperature. Simonson, Dedors, Kaufmann, and behind that Stéphane Lacroix, and then Francois Fiat in the Celine, and then Belloc in the little Ferrari. Top 3 pretty close together. 3 behind that pretty close together as well. Belloc doing a good job hanging on there. And who's that who's moved up? That's Adam Sharp, number 44, who's right behind Belloc. He started well and is looking strong on this opening lap. But already the leader starting to pull away, and in 3rd place you can bet that Wolfgang Kaufmann won't want to see that happen. He'll be wanting to get on past the Viper in front of him. And indeed, Francois Fiat wants to get in front of Stéphane Lacroix. But look at the class of lead which Simonson already has got. And that is the 44 Porsche. A little bit too eager on this opening lap. A little spin and a recovery, but he's dropped a few places, I'm sure. And there's some very racy stuff going on here. Early on in a 60-minute race, of course. Looking backwards from the number 47 car of Baz Linders in, I think, 8th place. And I think that's probably the stealth of Nigel Greensall behind, indeed it is. And here is the Celine. Still looking to get past. I think he may well found it there. Stefan Lacroix got a little bit out of shape there, and if he doesn't pick it up and get on with it quickly, he's going to lose the pace. Well, it certainly got Francois Fiat all excited, because he can see he's got the man under pressure, and he'll be looking to do that again as quickly as he can, and this time capitalise on it. Just about held on to it there, did Stefan Lacroix, but he won't get away with that twice if Francois Fiat is on the job. The Celine, remember, pretty much the class of the field, along with that red Ferrari out in front. Nothing very much to touch them on speed in those opening races. So really we should be looking for more of the same. And there it goes. We're looking at it from on board with Jean-Philippe Belloc, and he just went straight by there. And yes, it's stuck. The move is a good one, and the Celine goes up one place. And you can see the power of the GT1 cars as they move away from Belloc, with a little Ferrari sticking with them very gamely. But there's Francois Fiat up one place now. He's got a couple of cars in front of him. He's got Wolfgang Kaufmann and Frédéric Dedurs ahead of him in the Viper and the Ferrari. And Kaufmann was looking to get past Dedurs, and I think he might have done that, because that is a Viper in front of the Celine. So it looks as though Wolfgang Kaufmann has gone up one place into second spot. Well, that's their best position, I think, for the team in GT racing since they started working with the Ferrari. So it's going to be a good afternoon for them if they can keep that up. He'll certainly be looking to chase after the race leader as quickly as he can. Kaufmann, Dedurs, and then Fiat, and then behind that Stefan Lacroix, and behind that Jean-Philippe Belloc, and then behind that is the Porsche, the number 34 car that's taken the place of this one. Here's your spinner. This is 44, had a little bit of a spin and is now busy recovering, trying to get back up. He was in 7th place at the time, so that won't do him any favours at all. This is Dedurs with Fiat right behind him, and no sign of Wolfgang Kaufmann in this picture. Now, he had gone on ahead to chase after the race leader, but on board now with Francois Fiat, and the Viper's hit a bit of debris, or has something come off the front of it? Well, certainly it's given Frédéric Dedurs something to think about now, and gets a bit loose on the curve, and that's all the opportunity Fiat needs. Well, I don't think there is something stuck to the front end of that, and I think the Viper just ran over a little bit of debris, and he's coming straight back at the Celine, but it's not going to happen. Francois Fiat's got that one sorted out. Frédéric Dedurs is going to have to settle for what I think is now 3rd place, because I think that Wolfgang Kaufmann is missing from this picture. Somewhere up ahead is the red Ferrari of Alan Simonsen, and the reason he's got such a big gap is that we have lost that tremendous performing Ferrari of Wolfgang Kaufmann. Really did well in the qualifying races once they'd got it fixed, but now it seems we've lost him from this. Engine problem, retired in the pits, and that is the Lamborghini number 63, 3rd in GT3, or it was up until that moment, recovering after a spin. So yes, we've lost Kaufmann, and that's a real shame for the race in general and for the team in particular. So this is 2nd place then. Francois Fiat in the Celine is 2nd. Frédéric Dedurs is in 3rd place, and we're on board again in that number 44 Porsche, trailing a little bit of bodywork, although he may not be aware of it at the moment because he probably can't see from inside the cockpit, but there's a huge lump of bodywork dangling behind this car, and they may have to show him the black flag. Now they've put a safety car on track to collect him and the bits of debris. We saw what was happening with the Dedurs number 12 Viper, and they put the safety car out to give the track safety workers the chance to collect up all the little pointy bits of carbon fibre, because it really does make mincemeat out of race tyres. Punctures the immediate and inevitable result of running over carbon fibre, and really Frédéric Dedurs is very lucky that he hasn't suffered that fate. So it's GT1 number 8 Simonsen in the lead, GT2 leader number 35, the little black Ferrari of Jean-Philippe Belloc, and the number 74 US Car World Viper is in the lead of GT3 as we lap behind the safety car. We're on board in the number 1 Celine. That's a back marker, and there you can see how much bodywork is hanging off the back end of that, and it'll have to go into the pits and have that seen to. There's no two ways about it. And that is number 27 coming in to retire. Number 37, I beg your pardon, is the Harrier coming in to retire. Not quite sure what their problem is, but the safety car is off. The lights are going green at 20 minutes into this race. A couple of laps under the safety car means that's a couple of laps we probably won't get at racing speed later on. But it's Simonson from Fiat, from De Deurs. It's Ferrari, Celine, Viper. And then it's Viper, Lacroix, Ferrari, Belloc. And then it's Porsche, and that's Lars Nielsen at the wheel there. And then it all gets very busy indeed. And Alan Simonson has got all that work to do again. I think that's the number 47 Vertigo we just caught a glimpse of there, going through quite well placed. There's the Mosler back out on track, so it hasn't retired after all, but it does seem to have suspension damage, or so we're told. Race leader, second place. Third place, it's 8, 1 and 12 at the front of the field in GT1, and as you know, the number 35 Ferrari heading up GT2 and running with the big boys and having fun while he's doing it. But look at this again. That is the back end of a Ferrari disappearing into the middle distance. That's the pit lane entrance there. That's the number 60 Porsche has just passed the pit lane entrance and spun. And a whole lap with a tyre like that will destroy the back end of the car. So I think that's retirement. And that is a Viper going past Belloc, or is it? Oh no, he spun, the Quo spun. Well, he tried to go past Belloc there and it didn't happen. So Belloc still having the best of it and still enjoying his afternoon. And Stefan Lacroix has dropped a fair amount of time there in a couple of places. So De Deurs still behind the Celine, but for how much longer? Look at him now, he's having a think about this. He's almost got the power here and it's coming alongside. Is he going to do it? No, he's not close enough. So it's still Celine and Viper second and third. Ferrari in the middle distance somewhere, P1. And they're coming into the pits together. Well, the window's open around about 22 minutes. That's where we are now in the race. And they come in together. And this is going to be a race between the teams to see who will come out first. 1 and 12 is the race order. And the Celine makes it stop. All the way up the pit lane goes Frederic De Deurs, while the Celine drivers swap places. In goes Dominic Dubois. Out, very unceremoniously bundled out comes Frederic De Deurs, and in goes Makovici. So how quickly can they get away? If the Viper crew can turn that car around fast enough, they'll be out in front of this one. This is Dubois. Starts up and away he goes. Pit lane speed limit, remember, and that's a Viper in front of him. That is a Viper in front of him. That is the number 12 Viper. They have swapped places during that pit stop. And there you can see it. Out comes the Viper, and there in the background is the number 1 car. And there is a Lamborghini which appears to be unbeaching itself. It's spun in the background there. Out they come on track then, waved yellows to tell them that there is a car on the racing line somewhere. There was certainly a big pile of debris there, and I think that yes, there it is. I mean, it does seem to have lost its rear suspension. Number 65 seems to have collapsed the back end. Whether that caused the spin or was a result of it, we don't know. That's the number 33 Porsche, and perhaps there was contact because it's smoking from the front end. Well, in comes the number 1 car, big lead. Simonson had, and safety car, what a good call. Safety car going out because of those cars around the circuit, and this is a perfectly timed pit stop for the race leaders, although really they didn't need the benefit of a safety car to maintain position, but it's all going to bunch up again while they're following this car around. So race leader, couple of back markers, and there is second place, number 12. There is third place, number 1, as the safety car pulls aside. It's a clean start for David Brabham. He's got a good drop on second and third place, and they're coming for him, but he's already gone away up the road. There he is, disappearing into what is almost the sunset now here in Bahrain. Late afternoon, this race started just after 3 o'clock and scheduled to finish just after 4. And that's the British Ferrari, that's the number 53 car which has spun. And we're on board now with Sergei Zlobin. He was the race leader during the pit stop and safety car interlude, but of course that's all changed now. But he's still leading the GT2 category after Jean-Philippe Belloc did such a good job. And here's a replay, that's the 53 car. A little bit of a touch with the Ruffier Porsche there, I do believe. Only the drivers will be able to say yay or nay, but that definitely looked like contact from that angle. And here's the battle for second place. Can this Celine, can Dominic Dupoy now get past the Viper? And it's been quicker than the Viper all weekend, so you have to say that's the favourite option. Can he get past? And is there enough time left in this race for him to carry the challenge forward to the Ferrari? Brabham up front, obviously doing his best to get away while he can, but there's the pass. Looks good as gold, absolutely no problems there. Well, it seemed as if it might have been a tyre problem then, or... Well, these are new tyres. Obviously, they've had a pit stop, but it might have been a tyre problem. And that is 35. That is Sergei Zlobin. That's a puncture. That's the bodywork destroyed. That right front has punctured. It's tearing the bodywork to pieces. And he doesn't have too far to go back to the pits, but if he does it at this speed, there won't be enough car left to repair when he gets back there. Here's Brabham coming round towards the end of what is certainly going to be his final lap, and there is no sign of a Celine. He's definitely slow. Brabham has responded obviously, but he couldn't have responded that much because he's been going at it fairly well throughout this race. So has the Celine got a problem? Is it running out of fuel? Is it running out of tyres or brakes? We're on board with the Viper and we're looking for a Celine, or have we already passed it? Because this could be a change of position on this final lap. Is that a Celine just ahead of us in the sunset? Here's the race leader. This is Brabham. Who's coming round behind him? We're not going to get a chance to see. There's no question that it's Brabham in the lead. We're on board now, and that it's fuel. He's jiggling from side to side. Surely it's fuel, but he's definitely lost the position. Just a corner before the checkered flag. Brabham wins it, and coming round the corner behind him will be the number 12 Viper, who has just nipped past. There he is with the Celine in the background. I think running out of fuel. He may have a problem, but it's all over for Dominic Dupoy, who was heading home to second place, and he's dropped back to third at the checkered flag, just crossing the line now. And it's an engine problem on the last part of the last lap that put an end not only to pursuit, but also any hopes of finishing second. And it's a third place finish for the Celine. Bitter disappointment really for Dominic Dupoy, who had been threatening a real nail-biter of a last lap for us. Celebrations though for the Viper crew, and of course celebrations most of all for race winners Alan Simonson and David Brabham.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic result for the Coopers team. I tell you what, I mean, for an Australian team to come over in an international race and show what they did is pretty awesome. Great credit to the guys.
Labra competition wrapped up GT3, and with the JMB Ferrari sidelined 2 laps before the end, Patrick Long and Lars Nielsen took the GT2 honours.
It's fantastic. As I said in the beginning, what a great start to season 2005. Sun is shining, and here we are, number 1.
Champagne time for the winners of the big race then. The podium celebrations coming at about the same time of day that they started that first qualifying race yesterday. The difference now is that the drivers and the teams get the chance to savour this truly spectacular sunset.
Welcome back to Best Battle Sports Cars, where next it's 1996 and the opening round of the BPR GT Championship.
In qualifying, the turbocharged Ferraris took full advantage of their ability to turn up the boost, and the number 28 car of Gounon, Belmondo and Bernard took pole ahead of teammates Olofsson and Della Noce in the 27 car, and 2 seconds clear of the nearest of the McLarens. With new technical regulations framed to favour the turbo cars, McLaren produced a new for 1996 F1, which was lighter, handier and more powerful than the 95 model, but which was at a disadvantage in the opening 2 rounds of the series. From the start, the pole Ferrari, piloted by Jean-Marc Gounon, pulled away from teammate Olofsson, with the rest of the field chasing to stay close. With a 911 fighting for second place and a Venturi in 5th, it was a mixed field which saw John Nielsen spin off early on, already in trouble with ignition and transmission problems. Pit stops after the opening hour of racing saw Jean-Marc Gounon hand over to Eric Bernard, but after only a couple of laps, Bernard was back in the Ferrari pit, somewhat surprising the mechanics. The problem that brought him there was a puncture, and after having both front tyres replaced, he rejoined the race, but by then, of course, he'd lost the lead. Now at the head of the field was the number 3 McLaren of Wallace and Grouillard, the McLarens surprising everyone by being on the pace and hopefully being lighter on fuel than the F40s, which were expected to stop at least once more during the 4 hours. By now, the transmission troubles afflicting the number 1 car were close to terminal, and inevitable retirement for the defending champions was only a short time away. Retirement for the number 3 car was unexpected. Driving hard in the number 4 Porsche, Jarier had a complete brake failure and speared the Harrods car off the track to Grouillard's complete disgust. But there was good news for the McLaren runners as the number 2 car of Bellum and Weaver found its way past the Ferrari and into the lead as the usual attrition rate of a 4-hour endurance race claimed its normal crop of victims for the normal crop of reasons. Among the departures unseen was the new V8 Lotus, which had made its race debut here as the road car appeared for the first time in Geneva. Racetrack drama continued to the very end as uncertainty over the fuel filler gauge caused the leading McLaren to come in for a last-minute splash and dash, with the 27 Ferrari closing in from behind. With the fuel consumption roles apparently reversed, everyone was busy consulting stopwatches and the race clock as the McLaren sprinted out for the closing laps of the race and the number 27 Ferrari chased hard in pursuit. But there just wasn't enough time left on the clock, and at the flag it was Ray Bellum in the Gulf McLaren ahead of the 2 F40s of Olofsson and Della Noce, and then Gounon, Bernard and Belmondo. So at a circuit where McLaren were expected to lose, racetrack dramas and especially those punctures meant that though both Ferraris were on the rostrum, they failed to convert pole position into a race win.
The BPR series delivering fantastic action. As next, it's Lamborghinis doing battle in the Philippe Chariot Trophy.
Surprisingly, there are 27 entries for this first race of a 7-round series designed as a Pro-Am category, each car shared by one professional driver and an amateur with a mandatory 60-second duration pit stop at the handover. All these cars are leased by the competitors for 2 years at about $150,000 per year. They're all the same 5.7 litre Lamborghini V12 powered Diablos, around about 530 horsepower, and they're all running on control tyres, Dunlop tyres, all the same. Number 16, Gounon, pole position, now leads from Ferte, number 9, Neugarten, number 1, Jarier driving car number 3, and Thomas Boucher, who we'll know from the BPR series, in car 17, which he shares with Olivier Grouillard. And it's Gounon, the Ferrari driver from the BPR series, who leads as there's a bit of place swapping going on behind. And you can see it is an extremely full grid. You'd have thought in an expensive series like this that the grid would be very sparse indeed, but not a bit of it. It is very well subscribed to. As we go on board with Gerard Larousse in the number 11 car, he's sharing here with Gerard Holtz. And still Gounon leading. And there's chaos. Cars everywhere at the first chicane. 5 cars in the gravel trap, 1 or 2 getting back on. Dust clouds everywhere, but we're losing some. Permanent retirements occurring here. Well, that's what the chicane was designed. Oh, and it's not the only place. More going on here at Indianapolis. And there is very expensive bodywork scattered all over the Le Mans circuit. And still it goes on. Well, the man from the local Lamborghini agent is doubtless in the paddock here at Le Mans with his order book in his hand. And he'll be needing it. Look at the damage. The leader more than showing the scars of battle. The pit stops have begun. Here is 16. This is Gounon. Scheduled to hand over to La Riviere, with whom he shares the car. There is the number 17 car. Bashir. Oh, and serious damage. Ferte has lost a front tyre and it has smashed that bodywork to pieces, or did the bodywork smash and puncture the front tyre? It looks as if that's the scar of battle. He's not the only one in trouble. That's Asher in the gravel, keeps it going, doing well. Oh, and the curb almost puts that car on its roof. What an expensive roll that would have been. Doing his best not to get stuck in the gravel trap. Back on board with Larousse. 300 kilo. Oh, and here it continues. That's Paolo Mondini ploughing his way out of the gravel trap, filling the scoops up with all kinds of rubble. And the number 10 car spinning as well. There is the leader, Gounon, into the pits. That's La Riviere waiting to take over. Jean-Marc Gounon, ex-Formula 1 driver, very quick in the Ferrari F40, and let's face it, the car is as much of a handicap in BPR as anything else. It really is outdated by the McLarens, and Gounon does a tremendous job of plonking it on pole with astounding regularity. And he is always one of the quicker drivers, still looking for Ferrari to claim its win, as out goes La Riviere, and that's Ibrahim, who has demolished the tyre wall by the Dunlop Bridge. And that is De Lesseps in the number 8 car, finding his way past La Riviere. But here's the race leader. This is Neugarten, took over from Jarier at the halfway mark, and now looking ahead towards the checkered flag. Neugarten looking for victory in this inaugural round of the championship. And there is his checkered flag as he becomes the first Diablo driver to take the checkered flag in the series. That is Philippe Chariol, and retirement has been visited upon him. And as Neugarten takes the checkered flag and the victory is settled, Neugarten, La Riviere and Gounon, and De Lesseps in the Pro-Am category, and it was Kessel, Fradin Chauffeur and Puig and Moller in the gentleman driver class. The legendary Monza circuit earned itself a new reputation as a breaker of cars in the second round of the GT series, when what promised to be a classic confrontation between the all-conquering McLarens and the local heroes went badly wrong for the home team on race day afternoon. For Ferrari, it must have been even worse after the weekend started so well. Widely expected to do well at a power circuit like Monza, where the new for 96 rules favour their turbocharged engines over the normally aspirated McLaren V12s, they indeed qualified on pole. They were also widely expected to gallop away at the first sight of the green light. And this is the sighting lap. GT Series calls for a rolling start, and the green flag waves the grid away, following in formation behind the pace car. Now this is critical. 55 cars on this massive grid, all weaving from side to side as they warm up their tyres around the Monza loop. But when they come back in front of the starter at the end of this sighting lap, they must be in formation, they must be in place, or the green flag simply will not wave. They'll just get a red and go round and try again. This is the first chicane at Monza, the Prima Variante as it's called, the scene of so many first lap tussles, and it should be quite exciting in the first lap of this race as 55 cars come pouring down to try and get through. With the Ferrari on pole, of course, the odds are clearly in their favour, and the fast starters ought to be leading as they come into that first chicane. As you can see, a number of 911s making up this grid, and the new V8 Lotus also in evidence, although still not yet sorted and still yet to develop its full potential. Back on board we go with the pole man. This is Jean-Marc Gounon in the Ferrari number 28, coming round out of the Parabolica, looking down the main straight at Monza and waiting for the pace car to pull to one side. Terribly well behaved grid this, not an ounce of urgency in Gounon yet, and the pace car now makes its dive into the pit lane. Now we look ahead for the green light, drops down that gearbox notice, ready to nail the throttle as soon as the starter gives the signal. A perfect grid coming up, and they have had that green light. The Ferrari steaming into the lead almost at once, and Anders Olofsson, you'll notice, also trying to do a job on the McLarens, and does it as they come down to Prima Variante. Ferrari first and second, McLaren third, that's Nielsen, fourth, that's Wallace, and Jean-Paul Jarrier fifth in the 911, and behind that Ray Bellum in another of the McLarens as we go on board with Bob Wallach. Surprisingly on this, and that is Nielsen recovering from a spin coming out of the gravel trap. And we were about to say, as Wallach tucks in behind Christophe Bouchou in the number 14 Kramer Porsche, that it's a surprise on this power circuit that the Porsches played a more prominent role than expected. And staying with the pack on the run down, now going into the braking zone behind the F40 of Luca Drudi through the Prima Variante. It's a Lotus in front, the V8 Lotus. And that didn't last long. Lotus in the pits, both of them with problems. And both of them quite clearly with brake problems, as you can see, and both retiring within a few laps of each other. Back in the race as the leading Ferrari starts to pick its way through back markers, and that includes, surprisingly enough, one of the half dozen McLarens in evidence at the Monza circuit. Ferrari first and second, and Andy Wallace third in the number 3 McLaren. And things going pretty much as the form book dictates at this point in the race. But there was further drama developing elsewhere in the 4-hour endurance tour. The number 2 Golf McLaren, driven by Ray Bellum, had a rear wheel blowout. First sign that all was not really well with the Michelin tyres, and it was a problem affecting the other McLaren running on the same rubber, the number 9 car. So Ray Bellum heading for the pits to have that rear left tyre changed. The Ferraris continued to lead going into the first round of pit stops, but this was always the moment when the McLaren drivers expected the balance of the race to change in their favour as they stopped less often for less time. Ferrari have been rehearsing their pit stop routine. No fuss, no bother, and Jean-Marc Gounon stays in the car as it rejoins the race with fresh tyres and a fresh load of fuel. But in a repeat of an identical incident in qualifying, the number 3 McLaren, with Andy Wallace driving, lost its left front wheel at 190 miles an hour and limped round for an unscheduled fuel stop. But with one Ferrari already out of the running, there was disaster for Olofsson too. limping around with an electrical fault that halved his speed. He was hit by the number 12 Porsche. The driver of the Porsche was clearly so overexcited about the prospect of overtaking a Ferrari that he messed up the entry to the Parabolica and made it the Diabolica instead for himself and for Anders Olofsson. Already in trouble, that was the final straw that saw both Ferraris out. Jean-Marc Gounon had already retired the other car with turbo problems, and that left Andy Wallace back in the lead incredibly after replacing that left front wheel. James Weaver tapped by Nielsen, he says, into the gravel trap, but either way, the number 2 car out of it, and now the rate of attrition so high that this car, the number 56 Porsche, not only leads its class GT2 but is also in 4th place. And there's more upset as the lead McLaren limped into the pits with a clutch failure and retired, handing the lead of the race to Nielsen in a McLaren that was already running dangerously low on fuel with just minutes left in the race. Afflicted by a fuel pickup problem from the very beginning of the race and stopping every 20 or so laps for fuel more often than scheduled, Nielsen had survived the brush with Weaver and was now in charge of the race. And now the Porsche not only leads GT2 but is elevated to a podium place as well. And as he went round, the number 1 car survived the full distance to win the second round of the series ahead of the number 9 McLaren, which had been stopping every 15 laps for fresh tyres, and ahead of the GT2 Porsche.
Official confirmation of the results saw McLaren in first and second, with a surprise third position for Porsche's evergreen 911. Coming up next, it's action from the USA and the American Le Mans Series. Next, the action is from 2012 and the American Le Mans Series and the legendary Road America circuit.
The open grid for round 7 of the American Le Mans Series at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Bright, shiny, sunshine, perfect conditions for the 4-hour challenge that lies ahead of this packed field. It's awful news for Dyson. They'll have to start at the back, and that means a bigger challenge for Chris Dyson, who'll take the start.
Well, unfortunately, we had a gearbox problem in the last practice before qualifying, and we just didn't have enough time to get the transmission changed. So if you don't qualify and you don't set a time, you have to start from the back.
It will be Klaus Graf who starts on pole position with Tony Burgess alongside of him, and then David Ennemeyer Hansen and Scott Tucker on row number 2. In the GT category, perhaps a surprise pole sitter, Marco Holzer ahead of his teammate Jörg Bergmeister as they'll come to the green flag, with the Corvettes and the BMWs putting pressure on those 2 Porsches, I'm absolutely certain. So Klaus Graf looking over to his left to see Tony Burgess in last year's championship winning car, of course, that blue and white Dyson with the Mazda engine, the little Lola coupe there, very pretty coupe it is as well. Watch David Ennemeyer Hansen behind the pole sitter. He should be able to get a jump from the inside of row number 2. It's very, very steep up that hill. There's the GTC cars going through, waiting for the call for green. And it is green, and we're racing. And Klaus Graf gets a real cracker. It's not the prettiest of starts. And Ennemeyer Hansen down the inside of Burgess. Will he get through? No. The turbo spools up on the number 20 car, and he manages to regain second position as the GTs and the GTCs go through. And there's damage there on the TRG Porsche right at the back. Already damage on that car. Not this one. This is Chris Dyson, remember, starting at the back. On board with him now. After gearbox problems, they didn't qualify, but definitely saw some damage on the TRG Porsche. And I'm not a detective, but look at the bump on the back of the NGT Porsche, that grey car. I wonder if they've had it coming together as they came to the green flag. Ennemeyer Hansen then having to defend from Luis Diaz, who is up into 4th position. David Hennemeyer Hansen now coming up to Tony Burgess and has a look down the inside. He's very, very late indeed into turn number 8. Has to go on the curb, and he hasn't quite got it done. He's going to have to tough it out round the outside of the carousel, and he does just that. Tony Burgess, I think, thinking about the next 3 hours and 58 minutes and not needing to battle so hard. Wow. Very robust driving early on by David Hennemeyer Hansen, who does not make his living driving racing cars. He's not a professional in that sense, but my goodness me, that was a fully professional move as he goes down into Canada Corner, and he's already pulled out a bit of a gap. That was for 2nd position overall and leading P2, of course. And the good news for him is he's putting some real estate between himself and the level 5 cars that he's battling in the championship, the 2 black 95 and the 055 cars. Just grounding out a little bit there as he goes over the top of the rise, with Tony Burgess still sitting in 3rd place, and then the 2 level 5 cars are line astern. Klaus Graf has got away from this battle, and the Muscle Milk Pickett racing car has gone, with a little puff of smoke there under the bridge as he heads down to turn number 3. This is very, very important, and here's the move again. Let's have a look at it. Has a look down the inside. I think he's caught out a little bit by Tony Burgess braking slightly early, and he's really got nowhere else to go than to try and make a pass, and Hennemeyer Hansen up on the curb. I don't think there was a pass. I don't think there was any paint traded there. Meanwhile, let's go into GT, and it's Jörg Bergmeister now ahead of his teammate. The car with the blue shade band in 2nd was the pole sitter Marco Holzer into the Flying Lizards team this weekend. But Jörg Bergmeister loves this place. He's been very successful here over the years. And the 45 car battling for the championship, so that's a sensible thing to do. Holzer maybe not quite getting the start. But look at the Corvette. This is looking very dangerous indeed for Marco Holzer. Ollie Gavin having a look down the inside to turn 5 under braking, and he's got it done, and he may have to give up 2 places, Holzer, as he's now fighting Bill Aublin off in the BMW. Fantastic piece of opportunist driver from Ollie Gavin, on board with Bill Aublin in the Rahal Letterman Lanigan BMW, the Dunlop Shod car. Michelin tyres on the Porsche ahead, through turn 8 and towards the carousel, and I think Marco Holzer's just gathered his thoughts now and held his breath, because he could have gone down there from 2nd to 4th, but he's managed to get himself back under control. Another fantastic move in the early stages of this American Le Mans Series challenge. And in the gravel, oh, that's the NGT Porsche. That's Angel Benitez, I think, yes. It's the grey car, as we can just see it through the dust in turn 1. And he's so far off into the beach, he's going to have to buy a deck chair, I think. What's he done there? Ooh, that was a brave manoeuvre if he thought he was going to go under the JDX car, the Gold 11 machine. He's missed his braking point by some distance. So into the pits. 4-hour race strategy undoubtedly playing a part, and this is perhaps a little bit earlier than we thought for the number 16, the 4-cylinder 2-litre Mazda turbo engine. Just 38 minutes into the race, and they're having a look at that rear left-hand side. Might have been a bit of contact there as well. Looks like it's going to be just fuel. We expected this car to go about 3/4 of an hour, 46 minutes, but that's a tad early. But no tyres taken, so quite clearly Chris Dyson was happy with how the car was handling, and that is a strategy call early on here at Road America. It's going to put him right in the middle of the battle in GT and GTC. Now, will this play out as everyone else takes their pit stops in the next few minutes? Muscle Milk into the pit lane from the lead. Klaus Graf staying in the car. Now they've gone for tyres. That's a change of tactics from what we saw Oh, and this is by no means a standard stop. The rear bodywork coming off. They'd already decided to put a new set of Michelins on. We'd seen Dyson go without, and there's a problem at the front of the engine. And this is costing valuable time. It's a long lap here, so they have got some time to look at it. We're hearing it's possibly a water leak, would you believe, on the pits to car radio. So this is not how the script was meant to pan out. They have won 5 races in a row up until this one. GT action now as BMW and Falcon Tyres Porsche down at turn number 5 under the Corvette bridge, and the 56 car goes by Wolf Hensley in that Falcon Tyres Porsche. Now back down to the pit lane where Klaus Graf is still sitting there, and the Muscle Milk Pickett Racing guys are still looking. They clearly have an idea what they're looking for, but they clearly also have not yet found it. Oh, the 52 car has had an accident, and that's a big one. Rudy Hunko has gone into the wall. Now let's have a look in the background as he comes across the brow of the hill coming towards the final corner. He's just got a little bit light and lost it, gone off to driver's left. Heavy impact with the left rear, and I think, and the right rear as well. The suspension damage there, isn't there? I fear the PR1 Matheson Motorsport car could be done for the day. And there is our first full course caution. So this is great news for Muscle Milk, because it does mean that they can do some of that fault finding under yellow flag conditions rather than full green. The 45 car, Bergmeister the tall man out, Patrick Long in, but Marco Holzer staying in the blue shade banded 44 car, the one just behind the one we're looking at. Both cars, however, getting a fresh set of Michelin tyres. Remember, this is under full course caution. How will they get out? All of the top GT cars in the pit lane at the same time, and they're looking down the pit lane to find out how they've got out. Oh, there's the Corvette getting out right alongside the Flying Lizard. Has to drop in behind. But look at that. That was the battle at the head of the field coming out of those that's making the pit stops. But Pat Long has just beaten them out. But look, the Lizards were together when they came in, and 3 cars have got between them when they went out. And that's all about the teamwork.
Green, green, green.
And as you heard, green, green, green. We're on the restart with 2 hours and 48 minutes still to go, just a little over a normal American Le Mans Series race. And the car in front is Chris Dyson in the Dyson Lola Mazda Coupe. Started at the back after no qualifying session for them with that gearbox problem. And he leads the way right behind in the car that they're battling for the championship. Klaus Graf is 4 laps behind. And then the P2 battle. Look at this. David Enemeyer Hansen in the orange and grey car on board with Scott Tucker. He's in second place in this P2 battle. This is the 055 car. That's the car that he is scoring points in for the championship this weekend. And he's got the class leader right ahead of him, and ahead of that is another class leader. That's the Prototype Challenge class leader. The red car is former IndyCar driver Bruno Junqueira. So coming up to turn number 6, PC leader, P2 leader, P2 second, and P1 second place, because that's Tony Burgess in the second of the Dyson cars. Back to the head of the field now, and the mirrors of Chris Dyson are full of Klaus Graf. Klaus Graf in that open-topped HPD with the Honda engine wants at least one of his laps back. Out of the carousel, coming through the King, blindingly quick through here. Oh, that was Brian Wong in the 33 Green Hornet. The GTC car, they've got a left rear puncture. They've been right up at the head of the field. Bad news for them, and the leaders almost picking them up there as through, taking 1 lap back goes Klaus Graf. We've got ourselves a motor race again here. So 3 laps still to go before he can take over that position. Now that's Angel Benitez in the 31 NGT. That's the GTC Porsche. We saw that with damage before the green flag, and he's coming into the pit lane. The parts list is getting longer, and the check is getting larger and more expensive. on board with Scott Tucker. Second in P2. Through the final corner, heading up the hill, and Scott has just had a little bit of a scare. That's why David Hennemeyer Hansen's no longer ahead. This is Canada corner, a lap or so ago, and look at the slide there. Oh, and he's in the gravel. And Scott Tucker's done a cracking job there to keep that P2 car, the level 5 car, out of the gravel. Let's have a look here as he comes in. Turns in, don't see any flags, don't see any slippery service flags, but he's managed to keep the momentum going. Now here's Guy Smith getting in to the number 16 Dyson Lola Mazda. New set of sticker Dunlop tyres. They are brand spanking new. There was some discussion from the team whether we put a set of scrub tyres on, as the temperature has been pretty constant today. They're going to risk a brand new set. They've had no work on them at all. Guy's getting a full drinks bottle, and this is costing them time, and this could be crucial when it comes down to the end of the race. Remember, this time last year it was a 1/10 of a second, the gap between first and second, and here is the 6 car going back onto the lead lap. And that's Brian Sellers in the guardrail just after the kink, fastest part of the circuit. Now that's a very, very odd place to go off. Was he pushed, or did he jump, or was there a mechanical problem? Oh, it looks like he had a puncture. Oh yes, the right-hand front of that car was up, and that's a left rear puncture, I would say, or a suspension failure for the 17 car. That's the battle for Prototype Challenge, and the lead in that category. It's the 2 core Autosport cars with Colin Brown and Englishman Tom Kimber-Smith down towards turn number 3 and through it, and those 2 guys already pulling away from the GT battle behind them. Tom Kimber-Smith has won Le Mans the last 2 years, and Colin Brown, who is a real talent in American road racing. As they come down to the passing spot at 5. Will the 06 go through on the inside? It does! Fantastic stuff. Talking to the team earlier on, they knew that they were going to be battling at the head of the field, and they said, the team manager was telling me, he told his drivers not to run into each other. First rule, of course, when you have 2 very competitive drivers, do not hit each other. Tom Kimber-Smith then from Colin Brown as they go through turn 8 in towards the carousel. 8th and 9th position overall. Now here is the big story.
9,
push, push, push here, the pit lane to Lucas Lure. He's got 8.2 seconds between himself and the leader, 4 seconds to second place, and you just saw second place disappearing through turn number 3 there. 4 miles each lap here, and time is running out for Muscle Milk, for Greg Pickett, the man behind this effort, and for Lucas Lure in the driving seat of the Honda-powered HPD. Clearly the fastest car here. They've won 5 consecutive races in the American Le Mans Series. Is their winning streak coming to an end? Guy Smith, 8 seconds up the road here. And Lucas is leaning forward in the cockpit, trying to coax more power, more speed out of that Honda engine behind him. He's got to deal with traffic, he's got to deal with the circuit, he's got to deal with fatigue, and the car that has been racing for nearly 4 hours. Now, he's right up now behind the Dyson. This is the 20 car. Eric Lux in second place. Not in the championship hunt, but he'll want to hold up the 6 car as long as possible to give Guy Smith the chance to escape down the road. This is all about team tactics. They'll be watching to make sure there's no blocking there, and it's a very, very late break from Lux, and he slides sideways into Canada corner, but he holds onto it, and that's great news for the 16 car and Guy Smith ahead of him. Clouting the curbs from Lucas Lure, this time going into the final corner, he goes down. Well, that's a fantastic late break. An opportunist overtaking manoeuvre from Lucas Lure. He didn't wait till the start. Oh, and look at the power. Look at the power of the little Mazda turbo engine pulling him back, and it looks like the 20 car may come round the outside. Lucas is looking across to his left as much as to say, what is going on here? But he has managed to hold on, and that is a new second place. And now what he has to do is calm himself back down again, start hitting his marks, and think about what's ahead of him. Still problems for level 5. And this is a bit of team tactics. They've brought in the 95 car to give the all 55 a chance to get back onto the podium and gain some valuable points. That's very sensible. Meantime, in GT, nothing sensible at all. It's just a street fight. There's been changes in GT because there is a BMW that's been shuffled back down behind one of the Porsches, the Flying Lizard. So what happened here? This is the battle for second position. Up the inside, Magnussen takes Muller out, and there Patrick Long says, thank you very much, gentlemen, I'll nip up from 4th into 2nd. Doesn't need a second invitation. Now here is the battle for the lead, and they're coming through traffic now, and Lucas Luhr has caught Guy Smith. Guy Smith now in full defence mode, coming down to turn number 5 as they pass the battling Corvette and BMW. Guy Smith, 2003 Le Mans winner with Bentley. He knows about toughing it out. He's from Yorkshire. He's got true grit behind that steering wheel. But surely now, it's only a matter of time before Lucas Luhr pulls out and drives through, weaving left and right. Lucas has been offline, actually. That's what the problem is there. He's trying to clean up his tyres, and Guy goes a little bit wide into the carousel. Now Lucas has got a pretty good run. Maybe he's a little bit too close coming out the carousel. There's someone been off ahead of them and kicked up a whole load of dust through the kink, flat out for the prototypes through there. And again, more traffic. Can Lucas Luhr make some capital out of that as he goes round the outside of Marco Holzer? He's got to stay close if he's going to have a chance. He goes in the inside of Patrick Dempsey and does make the pass at the Canada corner. That wasn't for position, but it was absolutely essentially keeps in close contact with Guy Smith. We've got 4 miles and the run to the line. The white flag is in the hand of the starter, and there's still more traffic. And look at that little Mazda up the hill. The Lola Coupe here looks very quick, and there it is, the white flag signifying just 1 lap to go. The 4 hours is about to expire, and once again the American Le Mans Series on a timed 4-hour race will go into a little bit of overtime as they cross the line just before the 4 hours expired, and that gives Lucas Luhr 1 more lap, an opportunity to go through and take what would be a famous victory. He's come from 4 laps back, remember. 16 miles away he was when he rejoined out of the pits after that long pit stop to find the water leak, and Guy Smith has just been turning the laps, and in fact his last lap around was his fastest of the race, so Guy Smith knows exactly what's going on here. Just turned that car's fastest lap of the race in traffic, and here comes Luhr down towards turn 8. This is one of the potential overtaking points, and there looks to be a yellow flag or some kind of slippery surface flag out there, so Lucas Luhr doesn't go through. He's got to be close. Surely he'll have a go into Canada corner, the right-hander at the end of this long fast run. He's gradually, inexorably squeaking up towards the back of that coupe ahead of him. This is outstanding stuff. Both of these drivers absolutely on the ragged edge. Guy Smith in the middle of the road turns in very, very early indeed, and Lucas Luhr's got nowhere to go. We saw him, remember, take the number 20 car daringly down the inside. Can he do that to Guy Smith? Surely Guy won't leave the door open. No, he hasn't. Yes, he has! And he's gone through. The time is now for Lucas Luhr. He's gone through, and that's it, surely. No, Guy Smith comes back to the right-hand side. It's all about who's got the power, and it's the Mazda. The Mazda engine outdrags the Honda to the line. It's going to be close. It's Guy Smith that wins it. Smithy wins by 0.083 of a second. The closest finish in American Le Mans Series history. That is fantastic. Lucas Luhr coming from 4 laps down, but he couldn't make it, and Guy Smith wins. Through goes the GT battle, and it is the BMW 55 of Bill Auberlen who has taken the victory there. 2 seconds the gap back to the chasing pack there from Bill Oberlin. And Guy Smith confirmed by just the merest hint of time ahead of Lucas Lur, the 20 car in third position. In GT, another great fight, 2.5 seconds back from BMW to Flying Lizard's Porsche, with the V.01 Ferrari in third place.
It's just one of those things where they said there was like 15 minutes to go, and so Lucas is 12 seconds back, 10 seconds back, 8 seconds back, and I knew he was coming, and he was a little bit quick. Well, he was obviously quite a bit quicker than us, but the team just said keep pushing, and I just tried to go as fast as I possibly could and try and play the traffic as best I could. And it was just great for a great result for us. It's been such a tough year, but it's a great reward for all the guys and the Dyson Racing team, and really happy about it.
We went from the front to the back, to the front to the back, and we got a little lucky at the end on pitting at the perfect spot, perfect time. So that's luck, but then it takes a little bit of a good car under you to keep it up front. And between Jorg doing his job, the engineers doing their job, Dunlop tires, this thing was fast at the end and nobody could catch it. So I was extremely happy we finally get this win.
So the 4 hours at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Road America are in the history books. Next time out, it's a very different challenge on the main streets of Baltimore.
The year is 1996 and Germany is the location for the Lamborghinis in the Philippe Chariol Trophy.
The grid is forming up now, and a terribly well-behaved grid it is indeed. A certain amount of straining as they come round the final corner. The pace car's gone into the pit lane entrance. The track ahead of them is clear. They're looking up to the gantry, waiting to see if there's going to be a green light or if they must go round again. The light is red above the track. We go on board with Olivier Grouillard as the light turns green. The foot goes in and Grouillard climbs through the field to take 4th place going past the pits. Drops 1 more place. We're 5th now and going for brakes, mass braking at the bottom of the straight and into this little right-left shuffle. There's Grouillard, number 17, in the middle of the pack as they go round and then downhill towards the hairpin. 22 at the front of the field at the moment is Loris Kessel, and there's a certain amount of barging round here. 28 is Quignew, and he'll be sharing with Richard Flanamp later when they change. Downhill now. And Grouillard right at the back of this pack is losing ground. Well, he was right up there at the front, and you can see them now all flying past Olivier Grouillard, and that gesture said it all. Very Gallic slap on the steering wheel, and you can see him fighting it. He's got a problem, and he's keeping wide, letting them all through, and Grouillard obviously cruising. The engine sounds fine, so whether he's had a bang from outside in the pack or whether something else has gone wrong remains to be seen, but everybody storming past Olivier Grouillard, one of the quick men of the BPR Championship, who always likes to be quick in the middle of the race. Watching all of these cars go past him must be frustrating in the extreme, especially since he's got the best part of the Nürburgring lap to go before he can call in at the pits. We're back at the front. That is the number 1 car of Neugarten at the front of the field. 9 behind it is Ferte. 16 is the car which La Rivière shares with Jean-Marc Gounon. And that is the chicane being very straight-lined. It'll get worse later. Once they settle into that, they'll be much straighter than that even. Hassan Amr, number 23. Flames on the overrun and turning in as the leaders come round onto the start-finish straight at the end of the opening lap. 1 and 9 is now the order. Neugarten from Ferte. And those two beginning to pull away from the rest. The long lens, of course, 4 shortens it, 22's dropped back to third. That's Kessel in third place. Gounon's behind that, and I think behind that is the number 11 car of championship organiser Stefan Rattel, who's driving alone, and Olivier Grouillard's driving alone as well. He's just made it through the chicane, and you can hear the rattling as he comes into the pit lane. And again, that slap on the steering wheel. Well, we've all done that in bank holiday traffic on a Sunday afternoon, and Olivier Grouillard is just as frustrated by what's happening to him. And the team, of course, aren't expecting Grouillard to... Oh, and there it is, puncture on that left rear wheel. They aren't expecting him in. They don't know what the problem is. There's no radio contract. And he there points across and says, look at the back, look at the back. And now they know what the problem is. Now he can have a new left rear. And of course they're not expecting to do tyre changes midway through the race. That's not part of the routine. Driver changes, yes. Tyre changes, no. So there are no air jacks out in the pit lane. This is all manual labour. There is Thomas Boucher leaning in through the door, speaking to Grouillard. Well, Boucher, gentleman driver in the BPR series, which in effect counts him as an amateur. But there is nothing amateur about Boucher's performances just lately. He has been getting quicker and quicker, and he too will be sharing Grouillard's frustration at this. And there's some more frustration. There's still 2 and 3 abreast in the middle of the pack. That's Mondini, number 18, Paolo Mondini, retired rather ungracefully at Le Mans in the gravel trap as Grouillard gets out of the pits now. The yellow flags wave reminding him of the speed limit, and there is the tyre. Ferte still fending off Neugarten. There's Gounon, and De Driver, as you can see, behind that is 5th, 1st, 2nd and 3rd. And I beg your pardon, he's 4th. And Jean-Marc Gounon, one of the quick F40 pilots in the BPR series, has been driving a very measured race and has eased his way up to Neugarten, or perhaps, as we've said, these two have become so engrossed in their own battle, they're letting everybody else catch them up. Mondini ahead of 21. That is Ferte, that is Gounon, and that is Neugarten. And it seems as though Neugarten is in trouble. Gounon suddenly eased up behind him, and now we find him in front. Ferte, Gounon was number 1, Neugarten, long way down. He has definitely got a problem. He is definitely losing ground. Sounds all right, but it isn't looking all right for Neugarten. We saw him twitching a bit. Oh, and speaking of twitching a bit, on the start-finish straight, 14, right across there is Onofrio Rosso, and he's taken out 21 in the process. Well, he's taken out another competitor. Oh, Mondini's in the gravel trap at the bottom of the start-finish straight. Must have been watching that in his mirror. And Rousseau has severely dented $500,000 worth of Lamborghini Diablo. Well, $1 million worth of Lamborghini Diablo, because that's 2 of them in big trouble. And the number 14 car parked across the grass there, as you can see, posing a bit of a threat on the start-finish straight. We saw Ferte fishtailing it a bit coming out of the right-hander onto the start-finish, and now Rousseau lost it completely. If anybody else does, they're going to collect that car. Thomas Boucher, who shares the 17 car with Grouillard. Oh, and there's Mondini in the gravel again, and this time he does the job properly. That's Patrick Bells. And as you can see, making a steep turn out because pit lane is very, very busy now. Race order has changed while we've been in the pits. because the number 16 car has found a way past number 9. Gounon leads Ferte out on the track. When will they change? We haven't seen the race leader come in for his pit stop yet. And going past the pit lane entrance yet again. So this battle really is very fierce and occupying both their attention, but the pit stop is met. Ferte right off onto the loose there, kicks up that dust cloud, hangs onto it, and underneath the bridge they go. 22 out of the pits, Loris Kessel. Back on board with Olivier Grouillard, still out there. So here's another one who hasn't changed, but look what Grouillard's got in his screen now. The pit stops, of course, will have changed the race order considerably and given him someone to chase. And Grouillard's still straighter across that chicane than anybody else we've seen. And here comes his driver change. Thomas Boucher is waiting in the pit lane. This is Grouillard's second visit to pit lane. The first one enforced by that puncture earlier on. And you can see in the best traditions of sports car racing, Grouillard's flicked the belts free as he comes in, making the hasty exit. And now Grouillard will help Thomas Boucher climb in. The clock's ticking, so they are not racing against the seconds, because no matter how quickly Thomas Boucher finds his way into that car, he will still have to sit there while the stopwatch ticks away. Here is Ferte. This is the handover to Yvon. So Michel Ferte out and Jean-Francois Yvon in. So... oh, and that looks like a little bit of overheat. Nothing too serious, just because the car is sat there without the engine running and there's no pump and no cooling. He gets back out. Ron Atapatu following down the pit lane. So Ferte, having done his job, brought the car in near the front of the field, but this is the front of the field at the moment. De Driver with the number 16 car on his tail. Now, we haven't seen Jean-Marc Gounon in the pits. We have seen Olivier Grouillard in, handing over to Thomas Boucher, who's now still running at the tail end of the field and facing the same situation that Grouillard had at the beginning of the race, running on his own and following the same line through the chicane. And away goes Philippe Chariol. That is the number 2 car. Beached. Oh, he's still running, he's still going, he's on the infield, but as you can see, he's got that resting on the gravel, the belly pan of that car carrying its weight, the front wheels not touching the ground. That's better. At the front here, Jean-Francois Yvon doing the best job, and De Driver has got perhaps the easiest one because he's pressuring someone who's got... oh, and having said that, the commentator's curse strikes at Yvon. He's doing the best job, and he immediately spins, backs it up onto the grass. De Driver has gone through into the lead. The Riviere has collected it up and rejoins in second place. But Bernard De Driver, who was best placed, we were saying, has swept past into the lead, and Yvon has dropped down into third place, possibly even fourth now, as a result of being jinxed by praise from the race commentator. So there'll be no thanks for that afterwards. Everybody taking that wide line in the background, riding high up the rumble strip. But now the race leader has definitely settled down into a very comfortable rhythm. He's content, as you can see, to follow other cars until there is a perfect and clear opportunity to go past them. We go back on board with Thomas Boucher. Well, just no luck at all for this pair, right down the bottom end of the timesheets as we look towards the end of the racing. and very little opportunity for Bashir now to do very much about that. You can see running virtually on his own. We caught a glimpse through the screen of a couple of cars running ahead of him, but again, one make series, equally matched cars, engines, gearboxes, everything. The only difference is the driver, and the only real gains you can make therefore are fractional. There is the checkered flag, which for the past 5 or 10 minutes has been pretty much a formality for the number 1 car of the driver, Riviere second, and De Lesseps, as we saw, getting through in 3rd place ahead of Jean-Francois Yvon after that little spin, and all smiles on the podium.
Let's head back to 1996 and round 3 of the BPR Endurance GT Series.
Midday Sunday, and that means it's time to go racing. Pole position to the number 3 Harrods McLaren, placed there by Olivier Grouillard, who now brings it to the line ready to take the start. And as you can see the foil going on, you know it's hot, and the competition even hotter. Almost as promised, Jan Lammers brings the Lotus to the front row of the grid. He threatened pole position here in Jarama and missed it by a couple of hundredths of a second. Good, but no cigar, he said afterwards. But nevertheless, Lotus have proved that their new V8 is indeed race ready. The crowd are ready to race as well. The Jarama circuit packed with 30,000 fans on this sunny Sunday afternoon, and the grid now ready for this rolling start. The sighting lap leads them directly into a rolling start, providing the grid has formed up. A moment's hesitation there for the pilot Ferrari, but now moving away as the blue striped Viper comes into the picture. Here's the way they line up after qualifying though. Lammers second after Grouillard, Raffanel, and then the ex-Formula 1 trio in the Ferrari. Girard and Delatraz in the 96 McLaren, and that's blue Ferrari. Bellham and Weaver well down with Delanoche and Olofsson on row 4. Back on row 5, reigning champions Nielsen and Bashir, and that very quick 911 of Jarier and Hager. Here's the very quick rolling start though, as Andy Wallace floors the gas, leads them into turn 1 with Jan Lammers right underneath the rear wing, and going round the outside, Lammers muscles his way into the lead in turn 1, and Lotus really have come good here at Jarama. And that's the number 9 McLaren, that's Girard in a spin in turn 1 on the rumble strips, and having to wait there for the whole field to go past. This is the way it looked to Thomas Bashir, who remember started behind the number 9 McLaren, and you can just see it there as it looks like an unprovoked spin all by himself, but McLaren's everywhere as the start gets underway. And now Lammers starting to pick off back markers. Number 91, the Venturi, lots and lots of troubles for this new car in practice, but they're on race day and running as through on the inside goes the Ferrari to grab the lead. Well, it's all changed now. Ferrari leads, Lammers and Lotus are second, Wallace in the McLaren third. We're back on board with the number 1 McLaren. Looking ahead as we start to pick off the cars in front. Traffic getting very thick already, very tight and twisty as you can see at Jarama. Lots of tight turns, no real long straights apart from the one past the pits at the front. and lots of changes of elevation as well. Ferrari in the lead. Now, they said before the start of this race that it was a very difficult racetrack for them because it is so tight and twisty, because there are no long straights, there's lots of turbo lag, and that really meant that the drivers were having to think very carefully about what they were doing and work very hard at it. As McLaren battles McLaren, and the Lotus seems to be slowing, and the championship leaders, this is the number 56 GT2 Porsche of Kelleners and Eichmann in the pits, and obviously an unscheduled early stop, and whatever it was seems to be fixed. As we look at the GT2 leader, the Marcos qualified on pole for GT2, and that's Alex Portman in a bit of a spin, but obviously getting back on the go. And this is the local hero, the Repsol Porsche, turbo problems, and that looks terminal. And this looks like Andy Wallace fighting the controls and taking the lead as the Ferrari dives in for its first fuel and tyre stop. This is as scheduled now. Driver change as the fuel goes in. Gounon out, Bernard in. And that's not scheduled. That's supposed to unclip, and it hasn't. They've got a problem with that left rear wheel, and this is costing time. Eric Bernard waiting anxiously for the signal to get going, and this is desperate stuff in the pits now. Well, wheel changes have been so much, and here comes the race leader, or what was the race leader, Wallace, into the pits, and that now hands over the front of the field to the number 6 Gulf McLaren. And no problems with wheel nuts for Andy Wallace as the car drops off the jacks and he takes over. And that is a problem. That is the number 22 Lotus. That's the number 4 Porsche on the grass, and that's a problem for them. But Lotus out of it. Lammers retires with a broken drive shaft. Portman's backed it into the wall with tyre problems that led the handling right down the garden path, and it's happening now. That's the 29 Ferrari. That's a gearbox problem, and that is terminal. That's not terminal, but that is going to be critical to the outcome of the battle in GT2. And that is Thomas Boucher. He's not scheduled to be in the pits. And quite clearly, this car has been damaged. The radiator's burst, and there is drama for the reigning champions. This is going to be a long, long pit stop. And a split radiator cast aside as the number 8 McLaren loses a wheel. Well, this does seem to be a weak spot for these cars. So that front wheel breaks loose. There's been drama for the number 60 Porsche, but it's circulating now and might be in the lead of GT2. That remains to be seen. But this is the sprint for overall race victory as James Weaver takes over from Ray Bellham and goes back out for the final stint, chasing the race leader. And here he is. Andy Wallace has taken over from Olivier Grouillard, who has given him a big cushion after his stint, but this number 2 car is really closing in. But here's drama indeed, because the number 1 car, teammates with Wallace, is in between them, and Weaver comes up the inside, locks up the wheels, smokes them, they slam, and Weaver runs wide. Well, he really tried hard there, but he'd had to try hard because Nielsen had been getting in his way. There's dramas for everybody in this field as here come the race leaders through past the Ferrari. Oh, and a touch, Wallace, and Della Noce touch. Della Noce spins, bangs Wallace for a second time. The number 3 car goes out, and Weaver inherits the lead, although you can't say he didn't drive for it. But James Weaver now is left out on his own to take victory at Jarama. Up front, it was now Gulf McLaren from Gulf McLaren as the checkered flag dropped. Bellham and Weaver took their second win of the season, and the team took the first ever 1-2 finish the championship had ever seen.
Well, I told you yesterday that car was fabulous, and to win the race, you have to be leading at the end.
You were leading at the end, weren't you?
Yeah, we had that covered, so I'm delighted.
Great action from BPR. Next, we're off to the USA and the American Le Mans Series.
Twice a year, the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, has a city setting as its backdrop. In the springtime, it's Long Beach, but now we're in Baltimore in the August heat. Yes, summer's here, and it's time for racing in the street. On top of Wolf Hensler's number 17, the winner last year, just 5th on this GT grid, but that could be lucky for him if that turn 1 melee does happen. It's already happened coming out of 12. That's Chris Dyson right alongside Klaus Graf, almost past him going into the final corner. And I wonder if we're going to get a wave eye on this. He's ahead of him going over the railway lines. The tyres moved in the slipstream there. And have we got a green? Yes, we are! We've got a melee! Oh, goodness me, look at that! We've got a green going over the line, and now we've got carnage at Baltimore. That's Hensler. That's Olivier Beretta getting out of the Ferrari. He's done fine. There's a prototype over on the left-hand side. There's one jammed up beside us. There's cars everywhere. This has got to be a red flag. Track is completely blocked. The reds are out, and the race has been stopped. Wow. We were expecting that at turn 1, but it's absolute chaos here. That's Scott Tucker shaking his head. I think he's talking to the team on the radio. WeatherTech Porsche beside us, and all the GTC cars seem to have stopped just in time. Well, total blockage. The flag has indeed come out. This is going to take a long time to clear away. An hour, probably, you won't be wrong guessing that. And if we restart for the full distance, that will take this race into darkness, and the streets of Baltimore might not be the best place for that, but everybody is okay. The financial cost of all this just doesn't bear thinking about. Let's have a look and see what happened. It's at the start. The line of cars on the right of the picture starts first and fastest, though pole man Lucas Luhr still waiting for a green flag. Left-hand side hesitates. Anthony Lazzaro has nowhere to go but up the back of Scott Tucker, triggering the massive shunt you see now. On board with Wolf Hensler, it's already happened ahead of him. He hits Tom Kimber-Smith. And then Olivier Beretta finishes the job off. Here's Scott Tucker, spun right round in the impact, and so lucky not to be hurt when the Core Autosport Porsche ran right into the front of that HPD. Safety workers on the scene right away, and as we say, no injuries except wallets damaged to the tune of $2 or $3 million. Looking down on that. Clearing up has already begun, but this will mean a long delay. That could be an issue since this street circuit has to be handed back to the people of Baltimore this evening at 6 o'clock. Most of the GTC field seems to have stopped in time, and the GT cars look to have caught the worst of it, although no one quite as bad as Scott Tucker's 551 HPD, which looked like a total wreck. There's a BMW at the back of all these GTC cars, and there he is. He started from there because the 56 car failed the ride height check after qualifying yesterday, just coming round out behind the rescue vehicles now. There's the 551 car being scraped off the racetrack, and that looks like a new tub will be the order of the day. Well and truly stuffed into the wall there. Maybe the GT cars will get away with it a bit better, but the Risi Ferrari looked almost as badly off as 2 of the 3 Porsches. There's Scott Tucker, and how lucky is he to be walking around and wondering what just happened, and how did it all just happen? There's the Porsche that did the damage and came so close to climbing right up the wedge front of the prototype and doing Tucker himself serious harm. On the left of the picture, level 5's the first to spin after it was pushed, and the problem is the drivers were told they were able to race when they crossed the lines, the railway lines, and they all tried to do that after Chris Dyson got the drop on Lucas Luhr, and that's where it all went wrong. 2 lines moving at different speeds. And here's the aerial view, and it happens as soon as Tucker clears the buildings. Dyson streaking away, everyone trying to follow. Lazzaro clips Tucker and turns him around. After that, everyone else was already involved, didn't have an escape road or an exit. This is Lazzaro on the gas before Tucker as the cars on the left put the hammer down. Tucker's stuck behind Lucas Luhr. We haven't even reached the start line yet. Tucker's so low in the car he can't even see the starter. That's why all the drivers rely on the team calling that green, green, green. The start line, a yellow band across the track. And there's the spin, hit as soon as he exits the chicane, and there's the Porsche that almost climbs up the front of him. On board with Hensler, seeing what he expects to see at the start of this race, but when it all kicks off, there's just nowhere for him to go. He's a victim too. Oh, that hurt. On the roof of the 93 Viper, Kuno Whitmer. Have a look ahead, and how scary is this 5 seconds for Bryce Miller in the 48 car, waiting for the Viper to be hit again and pushed into him. But it was even more frightening up front for the likes of Scott Tucker and Tom Kimber-Smith, who were both passengers in that.
He was really an unfortunate situation there. Still kind of trying to understand exactly what happened. Pretty serious though. So I was actually sitting there, almost stopped, and I didn't know what kind of speed he was coming at, but I knew it was going to be a big hit. And fortunately, I don't think he was going fast enough to really do anything except really just crumple the front. But at a higher speed, it probably would have been more serious.
But now, almost an hour later, with the clock approaching 5 p.m, the circuit due to be handed back to the city at 6. This is a restart for 1 hour of racing. There will have to be stops for a splash and dash and driver changes, but this is a sprint to the finish now, after what's probably going to be the best behaved start in ALMS history, with everybody very conscious of what they've just witnessed. And it's going to be taking place without Bill Sweedler. The Ferrari narrowly avoided the incident at the start, but now he can't get the engine restarted. While he's worrying about that, organisers are still trying to decide on minimum seat time rules for the shorter race. Not so vital for the all-pro teams, they can do it without worrying, but the Pro-Am crews will have to worry about it. Chris Dyson well in front of Lucas Luhr coming out of turn 12 yet again. Is this going to be another melee? Is this going to be another incident? He's in front going over the railway lines. Will we get a wave by on this? It looks as though we will. And indeed, there's no green. And everybody back off the throttle. Lucas Luhr, that's Klaus Graf, I beg your pardon, it's Klaus Graf starting the car. Look at the crash helmet. Puts himself back in front. He's in charge, without a safety car, without a pace car on the track. The pole man is in charge of the lap and the speed of the cars behind him, and they should all take their cue from him. They've been told, and that looks like it's... is it going? Yes, it is. They've been told they can start racing as they cross the railway lines after the green, but not before the green. That's where it all went wrong. Chris Dyson in front of Klaus Graf coming out of turn 12. This is the right way to do it. No wave by this time, they're side by side, everybody puts the hammer down. And this time it's a clean start, it's still good for Dyson, but we are racing.
Green.
Now we've got to start, now we've got to race. Huge pack running down towards turn 1. Klaus Graf on the inside, moves Chris Dyson over to claim that line. Very firm stuff from Klaus Graf. Wasn't going to be duffed up in the corner by that Mazda-powered Dyson. Now leads this race. Chris Dyson all over behind him. It's ESM bracketing the level 5 car, and up comes the PC car. It's PC mayhem behind the PC cars, all in a big hurry to get on with this. They're very quick around this circuit, and they're rushing forward. The GT cars are in the mix as well. This could end in disaster, and now it has, into the tyre wall. Turn 4 blocked, and that's Chris Cumming and Ed Brown up the front, both the Corvettes and the Vipers. GTC cars all over the shop. Charlie Shears, number 18 there. That shaking head tells you that this will not restart easily. Yellow flags waving at the side. On board with Joey Hand. He started at the back, failed that ride height check, and now he's probably very grateful. He's off, and so is the ESM. So it's Chris Cumming who's stuck in the tyres. Green flag saying it's clear to race from here, but I think we're going to see a full course yellow in a minute. Here's the replay. The Corvette stuck up the back, tried to keep out of that, got pushed into it by the BMW, and those two wedged against the wall. They might just be able to carry on with this if there's no damage to the tyre wall. That was quite a big hit though. Everybody into the pits now. Most of them will do a driver change because they can get it done and never come back to pit lane. The GTC cars, it's been decided, will have to do 16 minutes with their gentleman driver, most of whom start the car. For GT and Pro teams, it's 6 minutes. There's no advantage in stopping early for them since both drivers are assumed to be equally fast. So that's what you're seeing now. Both the Corvettes are in. This is Gussens handing over to Farnbacher. The Pro-Am P2 class has got a 24-minute minimum seat time to deal with. That's Milner out. Number 3, Garcia to Magnussen, a few seconds behind. Still on the jacks. Oh, and the Viper runs over its own air hose on the way out. They managed this rather less well than Corvette, I think, but now they're both safely away. And the driver changes are over and done with. That was a frantic few minutes in pit lane as well as out on the racetrack. This is what happened to Garcia. Through the little chicane, turn left for racetrack, turn right for pit lane, and he spins somehow or other. He's going into pit lane and then changes his... The team have been on the radio, haven't they, and said, no, we're busy, go round one more time. They were going to split their strategy, but... no chance for him to get that turn round, so a little bit of reversing. This is what happened in pit lane to the Viper, and that will be a penalty. It always is. Run over stuff in the pit lane, you will get penalised for it. Bits of the Ed Brown car, which is now repaired, being passed back over the pit wall. There's the damage, that'll take a while. And that's radiator damage on the 45 Flying Lizard car. Championship leaders in GTC, the crew making a bold decision to change it because they haven't got any choice and get back out. If it does 70% of race distance, then they will get a few points, so it's definitely worth doing it. 01 leading the field. Does this mean we might see another P2 winner? There's the green flag waving from trackside. Level 5 behind in second place. The PC field are all bunched up. Then it's GT. Into turn 1 is number 9 ahead, number 5 Alex Popov and John Bennett. That's the order in PC. And it does look as if that ESM car's got cold tyres and it is very difficult to control under brakes as well. Level 5 looking for a way round, not finding it. Body language of that car is, I'm faster than you. It's Guy Cosmo, of course, essentially the same car, only different. He said it's so bumpy round here he can't tell the difference between this car and the car he was driving last weekend. Almost gets past Anthony Lazzaro. Cosmo obviously being held up by Lazzaro, who's less familiar with his car than Guy Cosmo is. Guy Cosmo knows that leading car better than the person driving it, and he knows the one behind better as well. So it's just a question of time, really, isn't it? All over the place, looking for a way round. That was a bold move. You can't do it there because you run into this wall. They both scrape past it. You'll have to think about that. It's got to be on the front straight, hasn't it, for this car? When they get onto the clear bit after the chicane, nip through here without unsettling the car. Now, hard on the gas. We're on board with the race leader, but what's happening behind is... Oh, look, there's a Viper in pit lane paying the penalty for running over the hoses. We said that would happen. There's the pass, straight up the inside. Done and dusted. That's more or less a formality in that place. But it's the only place on this racetrack where you can guarantee to be able to do that as long as you've got a bit of speed and you can late brake your way into that first turn. Slowest corner on the racetrack round the hairpin, starting to spread out a bit now. Guy Cosmo will have loved that moment, won't he? Pulling away now from his old team with his new team over the crest outside the convention centre as we look down on the GT battle. BMW, Corvette. That's a WeatherTech Porsche, and then it's the number 23 Ferrari, and there's a Corvette, and then the GTC Porsche, the JDX car at the back of that. Corvette making ground through the field. And the leading Corvette, that's the number 4 car of Tommy Milner, not catching up on those two BMWs. And that is a driver change. John Bennett handing over to Colin Brown. This will be on the money probably, but is it a bit early for seat time? You want your fastest driver in for as long as possible. They might have peaked a bit too soon. That's Lazzaro's stop and go for avoidable contact, though it looked unavoidable from outside the car. Fuel just a splash, tyres on, driver in, and rejoins, stop and hold. Taking longer than a full service watch. That there it is, that ESM car still there. And that first stint of this race must have seemed about a lifetime, as this wait is for Anthony Lazzaro. The first stint that they've all just done must seem like a lifetime as well. Red flag, an hour in the car, a restart, a long yellow, and then another restart, and then some frantic laps, and it's not over yet. And who's this? Lucas Luhr leads the race. The Muscle Milk car's out in front, pretty much on schedule and as planned. Now that the race has settled down, the back end of that BMW 55 is hanging off. And the other battles are still going on in P2 and PC.
I had a superb start. It was an incredible start. I just risked it there and it pays off. I just got into the lead in the first lap, so I just then managed to pull away. We had a great car, and I was so happy with the team that they have done such a good job and worked so hard. And I don't know how we exit the pits, but we had a good lead and hope we can win this one.
We're on board with the 55 BMW. Jan Magnussen's behind us at the moment, but only for the moment. He's right behind us. Will he get a better drive out of the chicane this time? Or he certainly kept it straight this time. Magnussen very anxious, looking right and left for an opportunity. And again, you can see the back end of that BMW is dangling off. Somebody is going to start waving flags at that. It's smoke pouring. Yes, exactly.
The rear bumper is coming off the left side. The right side's still hanging on.
And Magnussen saw he was in trouble, pounced.
Bumper when 2 laps to go.
They have been told to bring it in. Race control have told them to come in and fix it. Do you stop right away? And if it's doing that, then yes, you do. Look at it, it's tearing up the back tyre, coming up to the pit lane entrance now. Oh, and it's dragging on the floor. It's properly hanging off now.
What's that?
But he's gone past. He hasn't got into pit lane.
They want us to pit next lap to take that bumper off. Keep going. Drive as hard as you can.
They're hoping it will fall off all by itself and save them the need to come into pit lane, but it is wearing away at the tyre, so that might bring them in anyway, but if they haven't got to fix the bodywork, it will save time in the pit stop. But it is quite a hazard to other cars now, this BMW.
Right rear here.
Oh, that's jumping. Oh, that looked as if it slapped the tyre wall, that number 3. It did indeed. Now, Magnussen so keen to get on with this that he's clanged the tyres going through the chicane and clanged the bodywork. So we've now got 2 damaged cars on track. Only bodywork damage by the look of it. Doesn't seem to have damaged the car. Here's the replay. There's Milner riding the curbs, and that one throws Magnussen right across into, and he's destroyed the tyre wall and bumped the front of the car, but it doesn't look as though it's going to come off anytime soon. But Corvettes do have a bit of aero working for them, even on a street circuit like this where speeds aren't high. In fact, this is the slowest circuit of the season. Average speeds well under 100 miles an hour. So it will affect that somewhat, but only somewhat. And Magnussen, when he's street fighting like this, probably isn't going to notice too much. And that's 55, is it with or without? It's without the bumper. It has come off. So it's done exactly what the team wanted. It's probably, and there it is in the middle of the track now. That's not good. That is right on the line on that corner at the pit lane entrance, and that will mean any other time you'd know there'd be yellow flags and we'd all go behind the safety car and pull that away. But will the race director decide to leave that? No, you can't leave that there, can you? It's right in the way. Yellow flags are out, and it has to go. That bit of bodywork were on top of the 55 car now, pretty much the sole cause of that yellow flag. And they made a choice and maybe got it wrong. Level 5 pits in, Guy Cosmo out, Marino Franchitti getting into the car. They were the P2 leaders at this point, which is good work from a driver who was in a different car just a couple of weeks ago and has hardly had time to get settled into this seat, never mind this team, before it all went crazy out there on track.
From my point of view, it just looked like the Muscle Milk car checked up a little bit, and Tucker had to check up a little bit, and Lazaro looked like he got right into him. I mean, and none of it was intentional, but man, what a horrible start for him. You know, Scott Tucker is level 5. They brought me on board this weekend, you know, and I'm bummed to see him not finish.
Here's the ESM handover. Scott Sharp in the seat now, taking it to the flag. Can he take the race to Marino Franchitti? Unlikely. 44 Lizard leads them through. Oh, and that ESM car has destroyed the tyres in the chicane. The ESM car just clipped the tyres going through the chicane. Has it done damage to the car? Almost certainly. We've still got green flags waving. Oh, and the Corvettes have mugged the Magnussen up the inside of Milner. Both Corvettes got the jump on Dirk Miller, and Magnussen has now gone straight up the inside and taken the lead of the GT battle in that little bit of mayhem coming down towards turn 1 after the ESM car started going slowly. Blue flags are waving. No one needs to be told about that, do they? Hello, there's someone trying to pass you. Well, I never. Magnussen, Milner and Muller now, and that is the number 9 car of Bruno Junqueira, and it's tapped the wall. And that's a very unusual thing from Junqueira, you have to say. He was second in PC when that happened. So now we've got a damaged Corvette leading a good Corvette, an alright BMW, and somewhere behind that is the damaged BMW, and then there's the P1 battle going on, because we've got up the front, we've got the number 6 car. Here's a replay in the chicane. Oh, he did swipe those tyres straight on, didn't he? And cold tyres, not so much grip. You can see what happened there, but look, here come the Corvettes straight past the BMW. This is Magnussen brilliance. Now look, sees Milner queuing up behind Muscle Milk and thinks, I'll have some of that. He's alongside. That's quite a firm pass on teammates. Almost gave a place to the BMW, but Milner got on the gas heavy enough. Here's the replay again through the chicane. Just never got turned, did he? And picked up the tyres. Did a bit of damage to the front of the car. There is debris on track. And will we get another yellow flag for that? Here's the moment. Close your eyes. Ow. And slow on the straight, and then all of a sudden here come a whole rake of Corvettes and BMWs. This is the BMW point of view. Oh, and yes, Lucas Luhr had to get on the brakes. Dirk Muller had to get on the brakes, and then he was a sitting duck for these two, wasn't he? They came streaking past. In the sin bin there is the number 2 car. Here's your race leader. Has he been damaged in that little tap, do you think, Lucas Luhr? The number 6 car did get poked from behind and now seems to be unable to get away from the Corvettes. That's a bit unusual. Guy Smith in the Dyson will be liking this if he can get past the Corvettes. He's got a wounded Muscle Milk in front of him, or so it seems. That may well be the race win that Dyson came here to collect, and off to the left goes Lucas Luhr in the Muscle Milk car, and he's back on, and he's back on at G. Did he miss a gear, or did the gearbox miss a gear? Did that little poke up the back do something to it? He seems to be back on it now, but he's a lot closer to Guy Smith than he was. And Jan Magnussen leads round 7 of the American Le Mans Series here on the streets of Baltimore. By the way, this is your race leader. We've had a P2 winner, and I think Guy Smith's going to change anyone's ideas about having a GT winner. And the Muscle Milk car, is that back up to speed? You can't tell when it's stuck in the Corvette train at this point on the track. Certainly seems in a hurry to get on with it now. It just looks as though it may have had a moment to itself, or Lucas Luhr couldn't get it into a gear, but now it's behaving. He might just have to gentle that gearbox. We haven't got long to go. Dyson now taking... No. Guy Smith in the Dyson not now taking the lead of the race. That looked like it was a formality, but he's taking it steady in the chicane, round past the pits. The hairpin is ahead of them after this. Maybe the hairpin will be the place, slowest corner on the track, opportunity to be very late on the brakes for the lightweight P1 car. Straight through here, absolutely no hesitation for Guy Smith, and you have to say behind him Lucas Luhr starting to look very racy again. The chicane's just been moved and left there. The race director deciding we didn't need a yellow for that. There goes Dyson, there goes Muscle Milk, and the Corvette back into third place but still leading GT. And is Luke? Yes, he is. Lucas Luhr is definitely thinking about Guy Smith's first place, but that wasn't the time, and he's going to take it steady. Almost close enough, but not quite. 3 leads 4 in the GT battle. Magnussen from Milner. Muller is still in third place behind, and there's the pass in the hairpin for Lucas Luhr on Guy Smith, and Guy Smith didn't put up a fight for that one. Let him go through. This is the GTC leader. Is Blake Molan the leader? There's a battle going on with Edwards and Jan Heylen. Heylen pushing hard. Edwards half a second faster than Blake Molan on that lap, so the battle is taking them forwards. And it's, of course, 44 that leads, isn't it? We can't see Ian von Moltke anywhere here, but this is the battle, and they've all got past, haven't they? Suddenly squeezed past. And we've got a train now in GTC. Dawn Edwards fending off Jan Heylen. Andy Lally is in the 27 car behind. This is a battle in P1. Guy Smith thinking, he is thinking about it. Guy Smith is definitely thinking about being in front of Lucas Luhr at the end of the front straight. Not going to happen though, but he was right there in the frame, so it isn't over yet. And that number 6 car has definitely got an issue. On the right hand side of their right hand side, Spencer Pumpelly gets well out of the way, and he didn't do enough time in the seat, did he? John Bennett's got to get back in the Core Autosport PC car, and that is going to drop them back down the field. This is going to cost them at least 1 place, maybe 2. It will leave their championship rivals ahead of them on track. Brown's 5 points clear of Mike Goash, the 52 car here. And a third place finish, if that's where they go to, is going to cut that right down. Oh, it's what? The 52 car all over the place. It's damaged, isn't it? The wheel coming off, suspension collapsed. It's been hit up the back, it's tapped the wall, something's gone wrong. Pole man Dane Cameron can't control it. Just bringing it to a halt, trying to get... He's only a few yards from the pit lane entrance, but he just won't go there, will it? You can see the wheels spinning up. There will be a yellow flag there. You can't leave that car parked there. Oh, just a few minutes on the clock, and that car is stuck. GTC car leading GTC with a Dyson right up the boot at the moment, and you can see that's right on the crest of the hill. It's easy to see, but it's causing everybody to change their line along there. Not what you want. White flag though for Lucas Luhr on the final lap. Guy Smith quite a way behind them. Behind that, it's that battle between Corvette and BMW. Jan Heylen right alongside Blake Molan for second place in GTC. Edwards at the back of this little queue has been shuffled back, as we saw. Here's how it happened. Heylen dives to the inside. Oh, that was very late. Dive bombing, they call it, and he runs Edwards outright. Right out to the wall, and gives him a place to Andy Lally as well. Edwards couldn't get back on the gas hard enough. That was very firm stuff. But here is your race leader. This is Lucas Luhr on his way P2, the 6th checkered flag of the season. Non-stop winning for the last 6 races. And it counts as a victory, even if it is going to be one of the shortest races ever, even if it is going to be one of the strangest races ever. And Halen's trying to think, isn't he? Where can I get past Blake and Molan on this final lap? Lucas Luhr's almost at the finish line now, through the chicane for the final time. He'll see the checkered flag waving. There it is. Muscle Milk wins it. Dyson are second. And Halen and Blake and Molan still in this battle. Look, he's right behind. There's the winner. There's second place. Here comes 2.5 seconds place. He's alongside at the checkered flag, but it's Blake and Molan. It's Blake and Molan who wins it. Lucas Luhr and Muscle Milk win the race and the title. Whew. Not quite sure what's just been happening for the last hour or so here at Baltimore. And the Muscle Milk cut, there's a replay of this move on Edwards, and that's sort of very close to getting a penalty, isn't it? Because he definitely moved him aside there. And whether that was payback for something that he thought he saw earlier on. But it's over now. The shortest race in ALMS history, but it felt like the longest. We know the result of this one. Klaus Graf and Lucas Luhr take what must be the strangest win in their career, with Dyson second. Level 5 take the P2 win ahead of ESM. We've got new faces on top of the PC podium and in GTC, and Corvette wrap up an important win for them in GT. But the big winners today are Muscle Milk, and they collect their inevitable P1 title with 3 rounds still to go.
I'm just very happy for the boys at Muscle Milk Picket Racing. That's a really championship team. They really deserve that.
In LMP2, Scott Tucker no longer tops the table, but the lead stays in-house with Marino Franchitti just ahead of new boy Guy Cosmo.
Gutted for the 551 guys at the beginning. Scott did nothing wrong and got taken out. Obviously, extremely proud of the whole crew for that performance. Guys fitted in seamlessly, did a great job, got us in the lead, and then I just had to go hell for leather at the restart.
A great victory for the Muscle Milk team here in Baltimore. Now it's time to head across the Atlantic to Sweden and the ex-Formula One circuit at Anderstorp. The Lamborghini Diablos of the Philippe Charial Trophy always entertain, and this race from round 3 was no exception.
Olivier Grouillard and Jean-Marc Gounon were the racers in part 1. Now it is their teammates, Thomas Boucher in the 17 car, and in the number 16 car, nobody, because it was sidelined and the electrical problem was so severe that it could not take the start for the second race. So Jean-Luc Marie-Laribière misses this outing and misses the points which are on offer. As the gentlemen racers come round for the start, there's the green light and there is the signal to go. Onofrio Rousseau is away in the number 14 car and pursued by 22. That's Loris Kessel, who drives alone and is racing for the second time today, and he, like Onofrio Rousseau, is racing in the Pro-Am series. And it has to be said that Onofrio Rousseau, not one of the major figures of this championship up until this round of it. And Lots of bumping going on in the first turn. The grid's still fairly close together. Remember, these are all identical cars, identically prepared by Lamborghini for the championship, and that's a challenge for the lead. And through goes Loris Kessel, number 22. Rousseau is back in second place, and he is being pursued by a number, and you can see them spread out across the track there, a number of cars, including Thomas Boucher. And 24 sideways across the track, and in lots of trouble there is Ron Atapatu, the championship's only American driver, and you can see there's something amiss underneath there. That looks like a man heading towards retirement. This looks like a man heading straight towards us. That's 14, Onofrio Russo, 19 in the gravel trap, and out of it now is Leonardo Poli. And clouds of smoke hanging over the circuit, and I think that's from his off rather than from a fresh one. And 20, that is Spaniard Javier Camp in lots of trouble. Oh, look at this, as the number 8 car of De Lesseps goes sideways and blocks the track, takes out the race leader. He's out of it. De Lesseps rejoins, but Javier Camp, who was on his way to the checkered flag, is out, and instead it's Rousseau, number 14, who gets it in front of Loris Kessel.
We go back to 1990 and the World Sportscar Championship at Silverstone.
Catching Lammers, but no one is catching Schlesser. Brundle is hanging on to him, but he's beginning to drift away. Remember, Brundle was side by side with Mercedes going into the first turn. Now look at the gap. And look at the gap back to Lammers. Blundell behind. Then comes Julian Bailey.
We now head to Spain. It's 1998 and the opening round of the GTR Euro Series.
The fact that Thomas Boucher and Jeff Lees plonked the GTC McLaren on pole position by a substantial margin, thus collecting the first point of the season, was no surprise to anyone. But the regulations, which have been carefully written with privateer teams in mind, limit the number of tyres available to each team, meaning the drivers have to be careful in qualifying to make sure there are 4 good sets left for the race. Having set a pole time which was unlikely to be matched, the team chose to rest on its laurels. And that turned out to be the right decision for a number of reasons as yet unforeseen by anyone at Hirama.
Well, it's hard on tyres, it's traditionally hard on tyres. It's one of the circuits which doesn't suit the Goodyear tyre very well. Our next race at Monza in a week's time suits the Goodyears very, very well. So you see, it's one of the circuits which are not as nice. So we have to be careful with the tyres that the wear is not too high and that we can run the hour. That's why we don't run in the second practice, because we don't have any tyres to run there.
Sunset on Saturday and most teams were tucked up in bed, but the Certec pits were a hive of activity as the team battled to repair the damaged front end of the Mustang. Only a monumental effort from a monumentally cheerful crew reassembled the carbon fibre jigsaw in time for race day morning. Scheduled to begin the warm-up lap at midday exactly, the cars started coming out of the pit lane and onto the grid in plenty of time. Thomas Boucher piloting the GTC McLaren out to take the first start of the new season and the new championship. Next to him, Cor Euser stood aside and let Rafael Barrios start the Marcos from the outside of the front row. While in the second of the GT1 cars in the lineup, Thomas Saldana was in the driving seat of the Kramer Porsche as it came to the line, scheduled to go 2 hours all the way to the second round of pit stops. Charles Margaron was driving the PK Porsche for the opening hour, while Manuel Montero started the number 29 car. Inside the McLaren on pole position, we're with Thomas Boucher as he follows the pace car away at the start of a warm-up lap, which will lead to the rolling start if everyone behaves themselves on the way round. So you will see the cars weaving from side to side all the way round the lap. That's only to warm the tyres, and there's no overtaking allowed. They've been using tyre warmers in the pits, but the blankets don't bring the tyres up to operating temperature, the reason being that the proper operating heat must be spread evenly throughout the tyre carcass. If it was applied externally by the tyre warmer, it'd be like putting the tyre under the grill and cooking it. Just the outside would get hot, in fact too hot, and it would go hard, almost crispy, and start to delaminate very quickly. Making the tyre wall flex while it's running is the best way to bring it up to heat. There's confirmation of the grid and a look at the times. The GT2 cars, the Porsches mostly, spread out fairly evenly across the seconds. But this is a 4-hour race. Qualifying really perhaps not too important to the overall result. On board then in the Labra car with Jesus Pereira, starting that crew of 3 drivers as they make the final turn. A slingshot down onto the start-finish straight. The safety car pulls off. This is the start, and Thomas Boucher very politely holds it until he crosses the line before he nails it. Everyone else was coming for him from behind, but they're just not quick enough, and the McLaren fires away into this big first corner with Saldana behind him and Jesus Pereira behind that in third place. Round turn 1, round the Fangio corner, up through this little right-hand kink, most of them dropping down to second gear here, and bearing right, then down into the hairpin, the Venturi trailing smoke, second gear round Le Mans. We're on board in the Kramer Porsche. This is Thomas Saldana, and there's the McLaren disappearing up the hill now, whistling away right the way up to the top of the circuit. Big change of level at Jarama. Through Ascari, big fast right-hander. The front end goes a little bit light. The car rises up on its suspension, and they're braking down from 5th gear towards Portico, and another second gear turn. Looking forward at the number 5 Kramer Porsche as somewhere in the distance Thomas Boucher brings it downhill through this sweeping curve into the Bugatti hairpin, with the rest of the field strung out behind him. Already the McLaren showing its speed. They did have troubles with this radiator hose. It was only a tiny little thing, and they only just noticed it in a routine check before they were due to go home on Saturday. They spotted the fact that it was missing. It was about the only thing missing from their £300,000 spare parts collection. They had to have another one flown out from England on Saturday. It arrived at about 8 p.m. Saturday night. It was fitted, the car was prepared, but they were that close to coming out to race this Sunday afternoon with a leaky hose that no one had noticed. And they could well have kissed the engine of this McLaren an expensive farewell somewhere during the opening hour of this race, and that would have changed everything. Lots of work done in those middle gears here at Jarama. Lots of work done round these hairpins as well, as Jesus Pereira is getting very agitated behind Thomas Saldana. And Barrios, it has to be said, he's being very patient indeed. He can't get past them around here, and he can't quite get the Marcos fired onto the straight well enough to go past them. It's got the speed probably on that front straight, but he just can't get by them. As Thomas Boucher closes in on the GT4 Porsche, the sole GT4 entry has just been picked off by the McLaren. Unsurprising, really. Pereira comes out of the slipstream. He's had the benefit of the draft for half the length of the pit straight. He has got in front, and he has closed the door, and that is the job done. Thomas Saldana had no answer to that one, and Jesus Pereira is through. Well, on board now, and this is what it looked like to Pereira as he darts out of the slipstream, going past the pit board just when Thomas Saldana was looking at his board. Woof went Jesus Pereira and chops him off going into the turn. A gentleman's manoeuvre, as you will see from on board here with Saldana. Nothing untoward about it. He had the track, he had the room, and he had the speed, and he carried it all the way through. So position change there. McLaren still lead, but now Pereira has taken the Chirot Porsche up into second place, and possibly, not just imagination, appears to be going away from him. As into the pits comes the Marcos. This is too soon for a scheduled stop, and everybody's looking worried. Koreuser definitely knows what the problem is. So do the crew. They seem to have been expecting it. And out comes the transmission tunnel, so it's something to do with the gearbox, a broken gear lever, broken clutch, something. There's Rafael Barrios, the driver who was out there with the car for the opening stint. You can see he's been working hard. And it is definitely gearbox trouble. And it's looking fairly terminal. The spanners are in operation, and it looks as though the gearbox is coming out. That could have been fairly terminal as well for Olivier Leclerc, and the massive crowd in the grandstand always appreciate moments like that. And I don't think anybody in the Marcus crew is going to appreciate moments like this. They've obviously got a gearbox problem, and they are obviously trying to solve it before the race is over.
This morning we had a couple of times problem with coming out of the pit, and I think they spin the clutch too much. Then the shaft gets blue and it gets brittle, so that snapped, you know, and I was very worried when it happened with the start again. So, but we will go fix it. It'll take 10 minutes.
10 minutes to change a gearbox?
Yeah.
A lot of driving to do then?
Yeah, well, we have to hurry up.
Don't go expecting to get your gearbox changed next time it goes wrong in 10 minutes. But the race crew definitely planning on doing that, and that is Manuel Montero, who didn't plan on being that deep into turn one, and he's just had his doors blown off quite literally by Carlos Palau and the Certec Mustang. Now, these boys worked until 5 a.m. this morning to get this car repaired, a tremendous effort. The front end was about the only thing they didn't have a replacement for, so they collected thousands of bits of glass fibre and carbon fibre and stuck them back together overnight. It's out there now, making its way up through the field. Carlos Palau at the wheel, the man who took it off, in fact, and did the damage, now repaying the team's effort. He started from the very tail end of the grid, and he is moving up through the field, chasing after Margaron and the 33 Porsche. And this is excellent work from the Marcos pit crew, because that is the fuel going in, and that is Koreuser going back out on the racetrack, or nearly going back out on the racetrack. There it goes, fires up. V8's notoriously difficult to get going when they are hot. Jeff Lee's waiting for his turn in the McLaren as Koreuser comes out onto the racetrack. He knows he's facing an uphill, impossible task. And that's the Mustang in the pits. Wheel change and driver change for the Certec team. And you can hear the gun chattering away. Problems at the back. They fixed it now, but that took a lot longer than it should have done. Fuel going in, but that was a problem at the back end with the right rear wheel that delayed that pit stop. Here's Thomas Boucher on his way in for his scheduled stop in the McLaren. Well clear at the front. There goes the Mustang. The Chirot car in the pits. Jesus Pereira has handed over to Jean-Luc Chirot. No need to hurry for Thomas Boucher, because a substantial lead built up in a little more than an hour. Started lapping the field about 45 minutes into that first hour, and now they're just 5 minutes over the hour as Thomas Boucher helps Jeff Lees into the car. Regulations say that only 4 people can work on the car, 5 if it's got 2 fuel tanks, and the outgoing driver can help the incoming driver to get buckled in. There goes the Kramer Porsche, and away goes Jeff Lees, and there across the corner of that picture is the strap which keeps that seatbelt in place during the changes and helps them speed up the stops. As we've seen, not so important this weekend as he pops out of the pit lane in front of the Mustang of Rob Sherl. And the number 29 car of the Montero family is suddenly looking very aggressive indeed. Picks off the Kramer car very easily, going through the hairpin there, very easily indeed. And it may well be that Thomas Saldana is having problems with tyre wear. There is Core Oiser in the Marcos. And this is Michael Caine, and that's the siren that tells you the McLaren is coming back into the pit. This is not scheduled. 15 minutes into the stint, and it is the left rear tyre punctured. And that's all they needed, or rather all they didn't need. Tyres are at a premium here for this team this weekend. We've already heard that they've only got 4 sets. They have no tyres to spare. And the one thing that could really throw a spanner into the works would be a puncture. And that's exactly what's just happened to Jeff Lees. 34 car, third place. More than a minute down on the leading GT2 car, the number 29 Porsche of the Montero family. There it is. We've seen what a fine race they have had. It's all gone like clockwork this afternoon throughout the 4 hours. Touch wood, it isn't quite over yet, but it's not far off it. Running in second place, 6 laps behind the McLaren. Easy leader of GT2, as is the McLaren, an easy leader of GT1. It's on its final lap now. Jeff Lees is just a couple of kilometres away from home, a couple of kilometres away from the checkered flag. Scored a point for pole position as the rules permit, so the opening score of 1998 went to this car, and now the first checkered flag of the season drops as Jeff Lees comes over the line. Not a formality with everything they have been through this weekend. They've had to work for it. Racing's always racing, and it has not gone according to the book, but there it is, the victory for the McLaren team. Pretty much as predicted, the form book comes alive. Who could have predicted second place for the Montero family and victory in GT2 ahead of the Chiraud car, ahead of Paul Kumpen and Stefan Cohen, and then the GT3 car of Blininger and Riccitelli, and the Kramer Porsche in 6th place. Jeff Lees possibly well aware before this race started that he would get the honour of collecting the first checkered flag of the season in the opening round of the 1998 GTR Euro Series Championship.
But as I said to you before, we wanted to use this as a test, and it's been good for us. We want to do a long run on these tyres. We've never used Goodyear before. We're quite happy with everything.
Another checkered flag. You must be pleased with yourself.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Nothing like to see the checkered flag. That's what we all do it for.
Celebrations on the podium then for Thomas Boucher and a very happy Jeff Lees after what was, it has to be said, a not totally unexpected win. There again, as we saw with the radiator hose, with the puncture, this could so easily have been a different story for everybody concerned, especially for the GTC team and for Jeff Lees and of course for Thomas Boucher. It's traditional to throw that, isn't it, rather than take it home and drink it?
No, we give it to the team. I think the team deserved it. It has a difficult winter, and so it's a nice start of the season. And it took so long, so I think it's quite good.
Not a push, not entirely a pushover. You could have been tripped up by a silly little radiator hose, by a puncture.
It's still a 4-hour race. It's still something like 600-700 kilometers, so you have to finish it. And obviously, you see, there was no strong opposition, but I hope very much, and I'm also quite certain that the opposition will come. Especially, I think mid-season we will have 4 or 5 good GT1 cars.
I can't believe that you're looking forward to being beaten.
Hey, come on, you see, I think you have to have a race, and I think it will be a very good privateer series, and they will succeed.
Points after round one, with single point bonuses for pole position and for class fastest lap, adding to the scores